just starting this. Let's say start, manage, select. Okay. Okay, YouTube guys can hopefully let me know if it's working. And then we'll be back on the space. Really want to hear from everybody. It does seem like the deal is falling apart, but is it falling apart or not? We will get into this in a second. I'll go live. YouTube peeps, if you can let me know if it's working, that would be awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, you can hear. Excellent. Brilliant. Okay, let's get back into the space. Much love to all of you. Okay, let's go to let me just give an update actually before I go to somebody, just so because there's a bit of updates. I'm gonna give a quick update and then we'll get it from there. Okay, so we have okay, so retweet the space as well. Obviously, reshare the space. Apparently, reports from Axios that are unreported of this, by the way, but they're saying that Trump told the Arab and Muslim leaders on Saturday that ending the Iran war should follow them joining the Abraham Accords and normalizing with Israel. Trump's primary goal is a Saudi-Israel deal. Apparently, MBS has stepped back from his early openness to normalization, so apparently Saudis still say that they want a Palestinian state, and that's what's upholding them. This is according to Axios. Take that for what you want, but our job is to give you the information. In terms of news as well, we have reports that it's becoming increasingly likely a deal between the US and Iran will not be reached. Both sides originally agreed to concede some maximalist demands, but 24 hours later, after extreme pressure from Israel and other pro-Israel Trump confidants, the administration has changed its tone dramatically, demanding that Iranians give up their entire stockpile before any sanctions relief and frozen assets are given. While it was originally stated partial assets would be unfrozen as part of the MOU, the Israelis now also demanded freedom of action in Lebanon, a key point that Iran is refusing to give up. Craziness happening right now. This is the Israelis for you. Then you all tell me Israel doesn't control America. Oh, it's a forwarding base, people tell me. Yeah, okay, bros. I'm sure it's a forwarding base. Anyway, let's get to Andrew first. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts.
Hey, Suleiman, thank you. As always, it's hard to believe we're day 86, right? I've just looked at it and then I just blanked out again. 86, right? Day 86, Iran war. Day 86, Iran peace deal. Agreed? Nah, maybe not agreed. We're back at that same point again. And Suleiman, thank you. I love listening to Ethan. Yeah, there's little points here and there, but overall, what's astounding, he was the one that was sending in that info for targeting data. I mean, he's got some cojones, some gonads, as we say. You know, he was quite brave doing that, but he loves his country, loves America, the United States of America, but he can't stand what's happened to our country, and he's going to speak out. So love that, and I like a lot of the points he made. And but thank you, folks. Please do repost this and do watch the videos. They're essential because we gain a tremendous amount of information. And I have to say, Beatrix, once again, I think she has a gift, Suleiman. She really has a gift. I was like really calling out for kinetic. I said, we're going to see it. I just see it. It's everything set up. And then it didn't happen. And Beatrice day before yesterday, I'm sorry, was saying, no, I don't see it happening that way. So it's going to be escalate to de-escalate. Beatrice, I give you a big W there again. But eventually, we're going to see some kind of action, I believe. But it'll be an escalate to de-escalate. The deal will eventually, I think, be worked out, but it's going to be a while. It's going to be a wait. And I think Suleiman, you're still thinking that's going to be after we get through the maybe after we get through the soccer. I always call it soccer, the football World Cup, and after that a time, but I think we will escalate again because I was loving to watch Israel, the IDF, the Zionists, the way they lit up on social media yesterday, and they're coming out of the woodwork now. Man, they're going after it. The monarchists and the Zios are freaking out because they know, and they can see it. They're not going to get their regime changed. No, absolutely not. Iran's in the driver's seat. Iran won the war and that's over. They're not. Nothing's going to change in that. And I hope Iran stays strong. And thank God, it looks like they are going to stand strong. Yes, Lebanon is not going to be put on the side burner. No, we're not going to forget Gaza. But yet, you saw how it was sickening the way the IDF just started blasting the hell out of Gaza yesterday. It ripped me apart. I don't have words to describe the pain and suffering. We can't allow this. We have to be the moral resistance and keep speaking up against it. But thank you, Suleiman. God bless you. Love you, brother. Keep fighting the good fight.
Appreciate you, Andrew.
Andrew, thank you very much for your kind words about me. I hope Suleiman heard them loud and clear.
I didn't hear anything, or I wouldn't have thanked him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I said that to him earlier on a message. I said when Suleiman hears it, he's going to be like, "Oh, Andrew, you were doing really well up until that point." But you know what, Andrew? When you're talking about, so firstly, yes, Gaza, Lebanon, and the West Bank. There, Israel's attacking on all fronts. It's horrific, horrific. It's like there was never a ceasefire for Gaza. This deal that they wanted to tell us, at least in the initial hours yesterday, in the first few hours yesterday, they tried to convince us, Trump did, that I've done a deal and, like war across all fronts is going to stop. It never stopped. For Lebanon, it never stopped for a second. Gaza, it never stopped, but they've not mentioned Gaza specifically in any of their agreements, but it hasn't stopped for Lebanon. So I have no idea what these guys are doing, to be honest with you. And the Palestinians are suffering a heavy, heavy loss. And it's not kinetic. I don't want war. But if Iran has the means to resist this, then I think Iran should resist this because this is atrocious. Basically, what it is we'll buy enough time so Netanyahu can continue doing what he does. That's the way I'm seeing it, and it's horrific what they're doing. Horrific. And Trump, I don't think he cares that he's being not that he's being made to look like a fool. He's making a fool of himself because he's getting paid billions, probably. The longer that Strait stays closed, the more the corporations that back him make money, the more he fills his pockets. He's win-win. And I think what he's trying to do, I was thinking this, is leverage as much as he can, not for America, but for Israel. So this was today, I think it was the first time we saw his statement saying, oh, if we do a deal, then hopefully these Arab countries will come on the Abraham Accords. That's for him and his family. And that's for Israel. That's not for America or the American people. So he's trying to leverage as much as he can and buy Netanyahu as much time, filling his own pockets, making sure big corporations make as much money. And what's Iran doing? Iran's thinking, okay, he's playing the game, let him play it, because as long as the Strait's under our control, hopefully the 4 decades of sanctions that have made us suffer, we can actually get something good for our people. I don't know, Andrew, what your thoughts are, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, no, agree. We see it playing out. We see it playing out exactly.
Absolutely. I don't know if you want to say anything, Suleiman. If not, I'd like to go to Andy.
Yeah, let's go to Andy.
Yeah, I mean,
Andy, thanks for holding and being so patient. Go ahead.
yeah. So this is gonna be interesting, and I do agree. Iran is not gonna throw its fellow brothers and sisters that are fighting bravely and valiantly alongside it under the bus. I just don't see any scenario where they ever would throw Lebanon under the bus, because then if they ever needed Hezbollah in a future war, they'd be like, "Take a hike. You abandoned us to be bombed and massacred." So I think it's a huge important moral stand they're taking, and they're like, hey, this war is not just about us and our freedom, it's about freedom for the entire region and standing up against injustice and standing up against genocide. And that also gives them way more credibility for the world because people see that they're fighting for the Lebanese people, and it's not just, oh, we're fighting for ourselves, and once we get what we want, we'll just toss all of these innocent Lebanese that are being victimized under the bus. And that also encourages Hezbollah to keep fighting as long as they know that Iran has their back, for example. And that if a future conflict breaks out, Iran absolutely is going to want to have Hezbollah in their pocket because that's less Israeli planes, for example, that are on their shoulder, and that it splits Israel's capabilities up when Israel has to focus on multiple fronts. And if Iran, let's say, ever abandoned Hezbollah, and then let's say there is a deal, but then 5 years from now, the U.S. decides to bomb them again, and then they want to play the Houthi card, the Houthis are going to be like, no thanks, we don't trust you. You abandoned Hezbollah. Why would we stick our necks out for you? And like that, if you abandon one ally, then your other allies have no reason to trust you. And as I've been saying, and I think a lot of us have maybe thought that if a war didn't happen this weekend, they would punt till after the World Cup, and that's kind of what it seems like. They've vaguely discussed 60-day timelines. Maybe that will happen, maybe it won't. But that does seem like something Trump would do. But I mean, I really think he does not care about the midterms at all. Like, that's not even on his radar at this point. Because if you're going back to bombing in July, less than like 3 months before, like 3.5 months before the midterms, like you're running right into that election. And then even if they get a deal in, let's say, September, like that's not enough time for the oil prices and gas prices to really come down. Like you're completely screwed at that point. Like the strategic reserves are going to be drained, and it takes like months for ships to get from the strait to their destination. So, yeah, I think Trump is really, this is kind of an all out war. Like they do view this as the last battle because I don't think you're going to be able to get the pretext and support under another American president, let's say in 2029, 2030, to do this again. So it's like the die has been cast. This is their last chance. Whatever happens, this war, whether they do it now, maybe they go back down the line, but it feels like this Trump administration is Israel's last chance to accomplish their goals, which is why they're going so all out, which is why you had that Israeli journalist Schrader quote tweeting Lindsey Graham saying, correct, Israel will never allow this, which sounds like a basically a threat blackmail situation. Like, imagine if we were negotiating a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, and then a German journalist said, Germany will never allow this or something. And like, people would rightfully view that as a threat. But the fact is, MAGA's so brainwashed, they literally see an Israeli journalist threatening Trump, and they're like, no, Israel doesn't have control. Trump's in control. No other country's journalist could get away with saying something like that. Like,
Yeah, Andy, I just want to jump in, but I think you really need to emphasize that point. That goes over most observers. That is the problem. We're an occupied nation to the point where it is that to that point. And that's what's terrifying about this. Terrifying in the sense of that's what is so seriously wrong with our country now. It is broken. We're done. As a country, as a nation, it's done, past tense. We're at that point. We're literally at that point where it's not going to change this with elections. I'm not going to go into all that again, but all the Thomas Massey and all that, it's all connected. It's all connected. And as this goes on, these little bits and back and forth, what's happening is our hundreds and hundreds of innocent lives are being lost. They've killed, I don't know how many Palestinians have died. They just went completely crazy, batshit crazy, bombing the hell out of it. I was looking, so I couldn't even watch it. And in Lebanon, that's just it. But see, this is what the problem is even one day goes by, hundreds of people are dead, more land is taken over, and I think that's the whole plan as we keep clearing more land out to make Gaza great again. Oh, we're at peace now, peace and security, which tells us First Thessalonians chapter 5, 2, and 3. And then, oh, let's make this Abrahamic peace accords, bring it in. We're all friends now and bring in peace. But it's broken. We're in a new multipolar world now. America is no longer the America. Please, people, don't come up and say "Make America Great," "America First," and all that. No, it's not going to happen. We're now moved in past tense into this new world order.
Yeah, yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, yes, I'm still going to say America first because that ultimately is the goal. America first doesn't mean going around and bombing other countries. It means, hey, let's prioritize our own people and not do this. So, yeah, I think we should have an America first mindset because an America first mindset means decoupling from Israel, decoupling from Zionism, and getting malign, malignant foreign influence that is a tumor out of our country. And that is exactly what we need America first means. So that's absolutely the mindset we should have because a free America means a free Middle East because then they're not going to be getting bombed and it means the rest of the world's free if we can free ourselves.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Just want to welcome Dr. Atusa into the space. Dr. Atusa, hope you're doing well. How are you? What's your thoughts? It seems like the deal has fallen apart. The Israelis have got involved and they're not happy with it. I can't hear Dr. Atusa. I don't know if it's just me or is it.
No,
No, I can't hear it either.
her mic is off. It looks like you can't hear her.
Yeah, I can't hear her. So, Dr. Atusa, you're going to have to go out and come back in to reset because we can't hear you. In the meantime, let me give some news. The news is
I've got a statement here I'd like to read out, Suleiman. This is just while you look up the rest of the news, but this is specific to the UK. But this is the leader of the Green Party, right? He's making a lot of moves in the UK. And he is proving to be quite popular with quite a lot of people. And he's put this tweet out and he says 6.1 million people across the UK are living in fuel poverty. So basically, they can't afford to fuel their cars for work or travel or school runs or anything. He says, meanwhile, British Petroleum is doubling profits during the energy crisis. So apparently, he says, pleased to see the mayor agree with my call to keep the energy cap in place. We have to lower people's bills. Now, I don't know what that energy cap means. I don't know at what level they put the cap on or how that's worked out. But what I'm saying is, it's refreshing to see a politician say, oil corporations are making billions while we're footing the bill, and 6.1 million people in the UK are now in fuel poverty. So yeah, I just wanted to read that out. And the same applies for America, which is what we were talking about earlier. Suleiman, back to you.
yeah, it's getting really bad for everyone for sure. It's getting very, very bad for everyone. These people don't care about us. The people they don't us, you know what I mean? They don't care about the working class. This is how it is. I'm just putting a tweet in the nest, guys. If you could do me a favor, if you could follow the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is flying. It's doing so well. It's blowing up. So yeah, be part of the movement. Be part of the help in helping it grow. It will mean a lot. Dr. Tusa, did you manage to get your mic sorted?
Yeah, is it okay
Yeah,
now? Oh,
yeah, we
okay,
can hear you.
perfect. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was just saying hi to everyone. Hi, Sully. Yeah, as I suspected yesterday, I just don't see how a deal is workable for as long as the Israeli expansionist ideology it's active and well, and as long as the U.S. government and Trump is under the control of the Zionists, and also as long as countries in the Gulf, namely UAE and the Saudis, care more about alliances with the U.S. and Israelis. I just don't see how a deal is workable. Um, and I highly, highly, highly doubt that the Iranian government would throw the Hezbollah and the Lebanese under the bus. I just don't see that a wise move strategically and morally, obviously. And then for some people that basically just have their own perspectives or predictions based on money alone or finance alone, I feel like there is this other side that they fail to see. So, you know, so yeah, so it's not just, oh, okay, there's gonna be a deal because there is going to be a new world order, and because, yeah, okay, all of that is good, but that doesn't mean everybody's gonna play into that, namely the Iranian government. I highly doubt that they're going to be a part of that. And so that those are the points of my contention with people that are in finance and see things from the solely from the perspective of global finance, and what they've learned in academia. I just don't think that a lot of us learn textbook stuff, but when you come to the real world, most things do not match the textbook scenarios. And I believe we're in that kind of a world where dichotomies and two polar opposites can be active at the same time. And so, yeah, I just don't see a deal. I just don't. And I think that Trump caved in because of Netanyahu and because of the Israelis. I'm not sure how much monarchists have a hold on him, but obviously they're throwing their tantrum. Um, and then, yeah, and then the fact that Netanyahu tweeted and said that, oh yeah, the nuclear is the main thing, and that Trump tweeted, I guess earlier today or maybe a few hours ago, that yeah, Iran cannot have nuclear, etc. It was just clear that it's just a bipolar situation as far as the U.S. administration and Trump is concerned. They can't make up their mind because they're puppeteered by Israel and the other powerful forces, visible and invisible.
So, in terms of the negotiation, because there obviously definitely was negotiations, what do you think was actually agreed? Obviously, we're getting two different perspectives. What do you think was agreed?
I don't believe that Iran agreed on not having their nuclear enrichment program at all, or disassembling of their nuclear facilities. I don't believe Iran is there where they were during the deal with Obama. This is a different world, and this is a different scenario. So that I believe that they would never agree on that. Okay, maybe they would enrich to a lesser degree, from 60, to whatever. But there is no way they're going to stop that. Um, they are a nuclear nation with the nuclear power, energy, and medicine, and I just don't see how that would be part of the deal. And I think that's a breaking point. Um, I also, if I was reading their mind, the mind of the Iranian leaders, well, to give the U.S. the leverage of trickling the asset release a little bit by a little bit, I just don't see that feasible, because then 2 years down the line, our assets are still not fully released, the frozen assets. And then they're going to go, oh, well, this and that. And then some other the president in the White House is going to just smash the deal. I don't think Iranians are where they were before. So I think they wouldn't back down on the principles of sanction release, control of the Hormuz, the nuclear, but then they would enrich to a lesser degree, and maybe they would also give a little bit to the US by saying that, okay, maybe the Gulf states as a whole, including Iran, can be in control of the Hormuz. Like that much of give and take, I do see a lesser degree of enrichment, control of Hormuz shared amongst everybody in that region. What else could they, like maybe they would agree to, okay, maybe you release the assets, the frozen assets, maybe in within 6 months. But not, oh, well, we're going to do it if you do that, then we do I just, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, we know, isn't it? Previously, when it came to Obama actually abiding by the deal that was agreed, he didn't do so. So you can't trust. This is why it's not just Trump. You just can't trust them at all. They'll make a deal, and then they won't abide by that deal. So this is why it becomes incumbent that you basically get
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely. And the trust is a big thing. Remember that every time Iran was during the negotiations, they got bombed. I mean, they got attacked. I mean, come on. I mean, how would I even imagine that they would be giving a lot away during the negotiations with all the atrocities that they have endured, not only during the last 40 some years, but just during this war. And so, yeah, I just think that also, like, I know Joe joined us, but I think this is a clear indication that we in the US, our government is totally owned by the Zionists.
Dr. Akusa, Jonah, I have to actually correct you all the time. I just got a bit of news to read. Welcome to Jonah. I've got a little bit of news that I want to read really quickly. Iran's Tasnim news outlet says Iran does not trust the US despite ongoing indirect talks through Pakistan. No final deal has been reached, and even if an agreement happens, Iran will closely monitor the US and keep leverage in case Washington fails to honor its commitments. Keep leverage. So there was that. There was also this, right? This is what Fox News is reporting. So Fox News is saying, Stuart, let me just mute your mic. That President Trump is refusing to sign any deal with Iran that does not include handing over the nuclear dust. No cash will be given, and the nuclear stockpile must be turned over. In complete contradiction to yesterday, by the way. It must also ensure freedom in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's not about it being open, freedom. I guess that means no Iranian control. And then they say, God, just laughable now. The deal is reportedly 95% there, but could take days to finalize. And then this is Trump's words: "We are not going to do a bad deal, that's for sure." Right? So I want to know which of these things is 95% there. Like, no cash, we want the nuclear dust. Like, have you had 95% of the nuclear dust? The nuclear stockpile must be turned over. Did you get 95% of that? Like, this ensure freedom in the Strait of Hormuz. Did you get 95% of that? I want to know which 95% Trump thinks has been freaking delivered, because this guy is giving me a migraine sat in England. Also, there was this, and I think it touches on what you said, Dr. Athusa, right? So this is Marco Rubio. He's issued a statement which kind of made me laugh, but it's very serious. He condemned Hezbollah in the strongest terms after it ignored Lebanon's government and called for its overthrow. So he's saying to the resistance faction, you're bad for actually condemning the government that's working with Israel and us. Hezbollah's continued firing at Israeli positions and is transferring fighters and weapons into southern Lebanon. And Rubio says that that's a violation of the ceasefire. And the Lebanese government called on Hezbollah to stop the attacks, and Hezbollah ignored them. So because Hezbollah ignored the Lebanese government, right, Marco Rubio says, we condemn in the strongest terms Hezbollah's reckless call to overthrow the elected Lebanese government. And when I read that statement, I thought, who cares what you have to say? So yeah, I'll just pause there. And Trump did give a lot of statements out today. I think Suleiman already covered some of those, but we'll go to them in a second. Let's welcome Jonah, and then I will come to you, Wolf of Walgreens. Jonah, jump in.
Do you
What are
want to
your thoughts?
welcome Gary as well onto the stage? Gary, hope you're doing well. I'll be back to you, Beatrix.
Oh, I didn't see Gary. Where is he? I always hear him before I can see him.
He's got a small profile, so you don't respect him much anymore.
Oh no, you're so rude, Suleiman. Oh, now I can see him. Don't even go there.
So
You're so
you need a
bad.
big account to
She,
mention him, and then
she
you see
just
him.
pays attention to the ballers, right? So
No.
got to have at least 100,000 to get her attention.
Oh, come
Yeah, she
on,
said she
Gary. You know
couldn't.
It's
that's
a
not
girl with
me.
an eye. It's a
She's
girl with
Gary.
an
She said she
eye.
couldn't see you, and then as soon as I mentioned, she mentioned you. She's like, "Oh, okay, now a large account has mentioned you. Now I can see him."
Oh, this is brutal. Gary, you know it's not like that. Welcome, Gary. Welcome. We'll go to Jonah and then I'll come to you for your thoughts. Jump in, actually, Gary, if you want. Jump in.
No, I just know that Sully doesn't want to admit that you like me. You think I'm a nice guy, and it has nothing to do with followers.
Exactly, exactly. That's not what I'm about, right? And I think people who know me, that's not what I'm about. So welcome, Gary. Now I can see you. It's just to blame Elon Musk for a crappy little app. So yeah, let's go to Jonah, and then Gary will take your thoughts. Jonah, what are your thoughts on this deal, no deal, and now definitely no deal? And then we find out it's 95% there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just go back to what I said yesterday. Really, is as long as there's a clause in there that Lebanon will not be attacked, I don't see a deal. I see a deal that can be signed, but it won't be held up for longer than 48 hours. And you have most of many Israeli intelligence profiles going ballistic, saying that they will never accept this deal, right? And Lebanon not being attacked is part of Israel, right? It is an Israeli deal. And I haven't seen a single profile from Israel uh, saying that they're close to a deal, won a deal, or celebrating a deal. Nothing. They're all 100% against the deal. So they do not want peace. And as long as Lebanon is part of that deal, I don't see a deal ever happening. It just feels like more trying to manipulate the market or whatever they're trying to do. And then you have Iran coming out and be like, no, we didn't even talk about uranium.
Wasn't the
That
market
wasn't,
closed though?
yeah, but you can still do it to crypto. I don't know what they're doing with crypto.
Cause I don't know, like I know normally people's argument is that they're trying to manipulate the market, but everything that happened this time, the market was shut. It does seem more likely, like I know everyone's like, no, like never trust anything, that's fine. But it
Hmm.
does seem like Trump was getting close to a deal and the Israelis pulled him out. And you saw if you saw how bad it was on X, and then you saw Randy
I
Fine
did.
saying that I called Trump, Lindsey Graham said he called Trump, like all of them called him, never mind the real power brokers who called him. Um, I mean, it looks more like there was going to be something happening and then they've made him pull out as opposed to this was to manipulate a market when it's largely shut.
No, I agree with you. But I don't think Trump was as close to his deal as he says. Where have you seen any sign from the Iranian side that they're close to a deal? I've only heard it from one side, and normally you hear from both. Like in the past, we've heard it from both.
I think Fars did say that they were getting close to a deal. So there were some Iranian
I didn't.
reports. There were
I
some
missed that then.
there were some Iranian reports saying it. Look, I didn't think there was going to be a permanent like I always thought this was a bridge to bridge the kind of the Hajj, the World Cup, and then the summer season, and then maybe just before the midterms or after the midterms you might try it again. But um, I mean, I did think something was going to be happening actually, personally, in terms of even if it was temporary.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like distraction to me. To be honest, I don't know if you saw what
What, you
happened
think
with
it was
our.
just solely because he didn't want to go to his kid's wedding?
No, I don't think that. But I think, look, what just happened in Argentina. I don't know if you saw what happened in Argentina, but they just gave they just gave Israel about 100,000 acres. Remember when there was reports and people were saying that Zionists were starting the fires in Argentina? Um, and there was like videos of people going after them and saying that they were Israelis that were there. Well, 100,000 hectares of that fire, that land that had fire, was just given to Israel today. Like, there's multiple things going on here that I don't know if I believe anything if I don't hear from both sides. And I didn't hear the part from Iran. If you say you did, I'll believe you, but I haven't seen it. you know. And have you seen what's going on with the whole World Cup thing? The hotels have single digit occupancy.
What? No one's going to it.
No.
No, that's really backfiring badly. Even folks that are coming in that are hardcore football fans, soccer, I'll say American soccer fans, they're even going,
Losing
hell
out.
no, I'm not going. And these are people, locals in these cities. And the price, the tickets are way overpriced. This one guy wrote in, he's got nosebleed. Excuse me, he's got nosebleed seats way up. Way up. He's paying premium price for it. Those tickets.
Yeah, Solomon, what happened where the tickets were normal price, then FIFA had the bright idea there's 5x the demand, which there was, right? So they put the price at like normal seats for like $30,000, from like 600 to 30,000. No one bought them. And now no one booked and then the hotels were doing the same thing, increasing the average night from $500 to $1,500 a night. So no one bought those either. And now Canada and Mexico were all sold out, but American World Cup games are at 1% occupancy, at least for the hotels.
And
It's
yeah,
not good look.
and Joey, even those hotel stats are below just normal average seasonal stats. It's
Yeah,
almost like it's a
like
revolt,
it doesn't
a
exist.
boycott.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, I love it.
yeah.
Well, the issue is that.
So, Joe,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, Suleiman, I was just gonna cover some of the Iranian media, what they said about the deal yesterday, but
Yeah,
jump
go
in.
for
It's
it.
not
Just
that
before you do,
important.
I was gonna make a one sentence point, which is
No, please do.
that
Yeah.
the only thing is that I mean, some of it will be. I mean, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people will be boycotting. A lot of people can't afford it as well. All of these things are coming in together, right? And so there's multiple factors why this is becoming a problem. But go ahead, Beatrix.
But there, before Beatrix goes, but there's a ton of stuff going. Like Trump just got handed like a exemption from tax audits for him and his family for his entire life. Like there's so much that happened this week that it feels like while the news cycle spoke about that, the thing that happened in Argentina, thing in failures with the World Cup, the fact Trump and his entire family can never be tax audited ever anymore. Um, it just a lot of things happened, right? The fact that they sold Bitcoin in order to save Trump Social because that was going under. Um, so they sold from their World Liberty Financial, which if something's doing so well and it's supposed to be so good, which I believe in crypto. Why are they selling? Um, it's just a ton of stuff that happened this week that's I feel like deserves attention and got zero attention. That's why I'm curious what Beatrix is going to say about what Iran said about the
Yeah,
deal.
I'm gonna what Iranian media say, Joe. But what the point you just made about so much has happened, I did see that about the tax audits, but there's a lot of other news as well, which is like it seems like it's compared to like what's happening in Lebanon and stuff. The amount of people being 3 massacres yesterday. It seems small, but I think it's quite symbolic. So, a young American guy,
Did you see the
American, went to
paramedic?
Israel.
Did you see the paramedic working on
Yeah,
someone and getting
yeah,
killed?
yeah. He did. They did a double tap on him, but they're doing this on a daily basis in Lebanon. So what they're doing, just for our listeners, is they're hitting a place where there are civilians. And then when the paramedics are going in to they're waiting. When the paramedics are going in to try to save those people that have been injured, they're double tapping to make sure they kill the paramedics. And every day I'm seeing at least one or two journalists being killed as well, so the news doesn't come out. But what's symbolic, I was going to say, Joe, is a young American kid. He went to Israel. He fought, he joined the IDF. They put him in Gaza. He came back to America and he committed suicide. And I saw that on my timeline yesterday. There's a picture of him and he's been named and he's there in his IDF uniform. And he committed suicide because he's so traumatized by what he did in Gaza. And it's almost like the American media has just blanked it out because they don't want to stop Americans going to fight for Israel. And I thought that was quite symbolic because I'm telling you now, if he'd gone to Iran or if he'd have gone to Russia, to fight for, the Russian army and then come back and committed suicide, it probably would have been breaking news across the board. And, I just hope his parents, in his memory, discourage other young American people, taking part in a genocide. I remember one, I think it was somebody in Israel, I don't know who it was, said, because there's a record number of suicides amongst the IDF, especially the ones in their 20s. And I remember it was somebody in Israel said, it's not normal for a 21-year-old to have killed 25 people. And that's why they're committing suicide. And we're seeing this now in America. But let me just read some of these things. So there was nothing, you're right, Joa, there was nothing that came directly out of the IRGC. But there were news agencies, like Fars News Agency is close to the IRGC. And as soon as Trump put out his statement, they said, contrary to Trump's words, this is when he said there's a deal yesterday, even in the event of an agreement, the Strait of Hormuz will remain under Iranian management. What Trump had said is basically there's a memorandum of understanding, and then we're going to spend 30 days to work towards an agreement. So what they were trying to say is it doesn't matter, like whatever the MOU think it is, or whatever the final agreement's going to be, that's off the table.
But that
Iranian
doesn't
state
say. But
media.
that doesn't say. It says in the case of a deal. So that doesn't say there's a deal. Like,
But there wasn't. No, but Joa, you've got to remember. So differentiate agreement with MOU. So there was a memorandum of understanding yesterday, and they were going to spend initially 30 days to work towards a final agreement. And in the tweet that Trump did, talking about the memorandum of understanding, he said, I hope to see the Strait of Hormuz open soon. So what they're saying is that even in the event of a final agreement, take that off the table, it ain't going to happen. Iranian state media, I'll just read all the different things that we saw coming out of Iran, the key ones. Iranian state media said that even if the number of ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz will increase to normal levels, as in after the MOU yesterday, it will still remain under Iranian management, right? Al-Mayadeen said the deal between Iran and the US includes the withdrawal of the US Navy from the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and the Arabian Sea, and the release of more than 12 billion worth of Iranian assets. Fars News Agency says the Islamic Republic will allow ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but exclusively, and this came through early hours of this morning, right? But exclusively under the authority and prudent oversight of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Plus, there was no commitment at all to discuss the nuclear weapons issue at any point. So what they're saying is, Trump said, this is our memorandum of understanding. And also, we've got 30 days to agree everything else, including the nuclear issue. And I hope to see the Strait of Hormuz open soon. I'm paraphrasing his tweet. So what they're saying is, yeah, there was a memorandum of understanding, but we never committed to talk about no nuclear issue further down the line. And we never said the Strait of Hormuz is not going to be under Iranian control. And this frustrates me. I said this earlier, and the reason it frustrates me is because it kind of goes towards the point you were making, Joe, right? Like, if I'm having a discussion with you for an agreement, you come out and make a public statement, and you say, oh, this is what I agreed with Beatrix. And I say, no, that's not what we discussed. That's not really what we discussed. We didn't agree that. And then we go back to the drawing board. I'm going to make sure next time, and you probably are going to make sure next time, we're completely clear in our understanding. This is the third time we've had these misunderstandings over the Strait of Hormuz. Is it open? Whose control is it in? Trump, well, seems to show something else. And then Iran always comes out on the defensive and says, nah, that's not what we agreed. So why didn't Iran put out a statement right in the beginning and say, this is what we discussed with Pakistan, this is what we agreed right in the beginning? Remember the one time before it happened about Lebanon, is Lebanon included or not? So it seems to me like Iran's like, whatever, if Trump wants to play these games and, if he's not clear about what we mean and if he's going to put out these statements and buy more time, cool, we've got the Strait of Hormuz anyway. Trump's thinking, I'm making big bag. I'm making a lot of money on this, so I don't really care. My family's doing well. The only person who's really uncomfortable with this, well, if a deal goes through, is Netanyahu. And with the stalemate that's going on, Netanyahu's quite happy because he gets to continue bombing Lebanon, bombing Gaza, evicting people out of the West Bank, occupying more land. It's crazy. So I just think that there's nobody here that actually wants to make a deal at this point, because I don't see Iran. Let me just continue reading anyway. This is the Fars news agency. There was no commitment at all to discuss nuclear weapons issue at any point. They issued that this morning. Why didn't Iran issue this yesterday? And then let me see what else they said. Iran's Tasnim news agency has just said, literally in the last hour, Iran does not trust the US despite indirect talks through Pakistan. No final deal has been reached. We know that. Trump never claimed a final deal. Trump said there's been a memorandum of understanding. We've got 30 days. And after that, we can review and extend the 30-day period as long as, it's mutually acceptable to both parties. So the Tasnim agency says no final deal has been reached, and even if an agreement happens, Iran will closely monitor the US and keep leverage in case Washington fails to honor commitments. So I'm seeing mixed messages from all sides, really, to be honest with you. I just don't see who's actually taking control of making a deal here. I kind of agree with you, Jawar, but what I'm saying is there was a memorandum of understanding.
Well, a memorandum of understanding. There's no comfort.
You're breaking up, Joe.
I glitched out.
Did you boot him out, Beatrice? Oh,
Mossad attack. Let me just read this. Level 1 membership. Thank you so much to SS Wolfensteins for the level 1 membership. Really appreciate you. Thank you for being an important member of the community. Thank you so much for joining. Back to you, Beatrix.
Yeah, he glitched out. Miracles do happen. What can I say?
Disavow.
Let me go to
Disavow.
let me go to Mr. Cardone. Mr. Cardone, what are your thoughts on what we've been talking about?
Yeah. Well, we have a deal. We don't have a deal. I don't know how we get a deal. I don't know how many times we're even gonna continue going through this. You have people at the table. I actually agree with a lot of what Jonah said. And the deal about the audit, it did go very unnoticed. I don't remember another time where an entire family was forgiven for future tax audits. So it kind of leads me to believe that every one of these politicians have just decided it's too big of a fight, or they never intended to fight it, and they're just going to make a shitload of money. I think that's what this all boils down to. Everybody and the public. The public will also buy along. In other words, agree, because they'll make more money on paper in their stocks, and that's the only thing that makes sense here. Otherwise, you should have revolts over this, because it's clear to me that the United States isn't really in total control of their decision making, which should terrify most Americans. Hell, it should terrify most everyone, actually. Yeah, that's all I got, man. I wish I had more for you.
Yeah, no, I agree, Gary. I mean, I just think I think they're just buying time. I think they're all just buying time, and they're all in a will. The three factors, the leaders of the three factors, they're all in a win-win situation. Trump on a personal level, he's making bag. Iran, because Iran's got the Strait of Hormuz, and while the longer they control it, it's in their control. They're making money, and where Israel's concerned, he gets to continue his genocide on three fronts: Gaza, West Bank, and Lebanon. Now he doesn't want it to be part of the deal. That's what Joe was saying. So yeah.
And Beatrice,
Go
Beatrice, that's what's so sickening, so heartbreaking, so without words. That's the Netanyahu gets to continue his little genocide. That's profound. The words, when you say those words, it's true, but I can't process that. While the world watches, we go about our world, but that's exactly what Netanyahu's working out, man. They're going like crazy. They're working overtime. It's literally working overtime to continue that genocide.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew, and I think that's part of the plan. Let's go to Andrew. I'm going to come to you, but let me go to Wolf of Walgreens, who's been really patient. Wolf, jump in. Thanks for
Good
joining us.
afternoon, guys. Great topics you guys are talking about. I just wanted to say like my thoughts on it, on everything that's going on. I feel, how can I say it? Kind of feel bad for Trump, but not in like in the way where it's like I feel like he's caught up in like the Jimmy Carter bear trap where he wants to leave, but he took money from the wrong people, so much money from the wrong people, and he can't make his own decisions. So it's kind of like he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I've said it before. Like I think he's gonna kind of like just kick the ball to another president. I don't think he's gonna really. One thing I kind of understand about Trump is he likes the glory, but he doesn't like the blame. So I don't think he's gonna want to take the blame from this. I think he's gonna kick the ball to somebody else and let them take the blame for it. I mean, because every day that goes by, it kind of strengthens Iran's hand, and he he's kind of like ceding control to of the strait to them. Whereas, like, I mean, what other choice does he have? He tried the military option, it didn't work. Like, diplomacy is the only option, and they're gonna get what they want. Unfortunately, it sucks, but it is what it is. So that's my 2 points on it.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Look, I think I don't know if it'll go kinetic again, and if it does, it will only be an escalation to de-escalate. I don't think that's what's happening here, and I don't even think they're really trying at the diplomacy. It's like we're 95% there. Like 95% of what? What did you get that was 95% complete, Trump? So I think we're just being lied to, and literally, I'm more concerned about the fact that people are really struggling, and our leaders know. I read the statement out from the leader of the Green Party in the UK that 6.1 million people are in fuel poverty in the UK. They cannot afford fuel, to do the school runs, to go shopping, to go to work, to go visit their elderly parents. They're in fuel poverty now in the UK. And he actually called out British Petroleum and said, while British Petroleum is making billions as a result of this crisis, this energy crisis that's
Yeah,
been
here
inflicted
too.
on us.
The oil companies are making a lot of money. It's like, what do you do? I mean, because there is Goldman Sachs put out a report that said starting in June there's going to be a global depression. So at this point, is Israel? You have to choose between Israel or the global economy. So what do you do? It's kind of you kind of stuck in a quagmire of sorts.
Yeah, I think Trump's chewing himself. Let's not forget, Wolf, he's making a lot of money personally, him and his family out of this crisis. Remember, up until last month, everything that happened, be it going to Qatar, be it going to Pakistan, be it engaging before the war actually started, so 87 days ago, prior to that, every negotiation that occurred, even the one that happened in Geneva, I think, because they met on the Friday in Geneva, and on the Monday they were going to meet in Vienna, and then it was bombed. Right, Iran was
Yeah.
bombed. They went kinetic. America went kinetic. Every negotiation that happened, who went? It was Witkoff and Kushner. Because they were going to make deals for Trump. They weren't doing it for the American people. So don't even think he's choosing Israel. I think he's kind of happy, like, for his bully best friend to carry on doing what he's doing. He's choosing himself and billions for himself, but I appreciate your take on it, Wolf. Sadly, we have Jonah back as well, so we'll let Jonah jump in now and finish his thoughts on what he was saying. The miracle didn't last very long, guys. But Joa, you were saying a really interesting point. So you were talking about, you did say that if Lebanon was part of the deal, you just don't see how it's going to happen because Israel isn't party to that deal. But I just wanted to say to you that whilst IRGC did not issue a formal statement, across the Iranian media, they did kind of say there's been an agreement's the wrong word. There's been discussions where they've got the framework, I'll call it a framework, but a memorandum of understanding, which is in the next 30 days, we're going to negotiate. It's just that what Trump thought they're going to negotiate in 30 days and what's going to happen as a result of that, i.e., they're going to open the Strait of Hormuz and it's going to be, we're going to talk about nuclear. Iran said, no, we ain't going to talk about any of that, right? We've got completely different expectations. So I just think it was a pointless exercise yesterday. And I think I don't know why. I mean, the day before, everybody thought they were going to go kinetic. And yesterday, there was this pointless exercise where they didn't really even have anything that kind of met halfway. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just look. I don't think America wants the straight open. To be honest, as you guys know, I don't see anything coming up from the IRGC. Yeah, maybe they're talking through Pakistan. Uh, I don't know what that means. If they're talking and goes, oh, we're close to a deal, but then Iran basically debunked most of the stuff in that memorandum, and we know the whole thing about Lebanon cannot be true. I so from everything you read to me, Beatrix, all I heard is, yeah, they're talking through Pakistan, and that's all I got confirmation of. Right, because they debunked the thing about the Strait, they debunked the thing about the uranium, like multiple things are debunking. So what actually is being confirmed is U.S. is still talking to Pakistan. That's the only thing I hear confirmation on.
There was sorry, Dr. Adusa, were you going to jump in? Oh, no.
Yes, I was,
There
but
was a,
can you hear me? Oh,
go
okay.
ahead. Yeah,
Oh,
we can hear you.
okay,
We can hear
great.
you. Go ahead.
So I was listening to a couple of news channels from the Iranian news channels in Iran, and they were saying exactly the same thing, that a memorandum of understanding is just that. It's not a deal, it's not an agreement, and that actually there was a public official, like a political official higher up, not a part of negotiation, but he said that he was being interviewed. He said that we only will take the negotiations seriously when the negotiators from US actually fly a 14-hour flight to Pakistan and hand in a written agreement. Otherwise, we're not taking this negotiation seriously. And I think that was the whole time the posture of Iran. Maybe the first couple of times they were serious about the negotiations when they got bombed during the negotiations. But right now, I just think they're not taking it seriously. And I don't believe they ever said there is a deal during this time. I think that it was Trump for the most part, and maybe the Pakistanis maybe said something that were close, but I don't believe the Iranians ever said, "Yeah, we're close to a deal." Um, and so, and and the fact that I read the memorandum of understanding, that was yesterday, and it did include that there has to be an end to the hostilities in the region, and they named Lebanon, actually was in the memorandum of understanding. And so, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Adusa, I agree with you. It was a memorandum of understanding which basically said that in order to start discussing the way forward, let's just call it that, right? We'll give ourselves 30 days to sit with each other to start talking about things. But before we do that, you've got to give us a few basic things. One of them is stop hostility across the region, because we ain't sitting down with you while you're still bombing the region, amongst other things. And I saw Al Jazeera printed out or put out all the bullet points from the memorandum of understanding. But this is my frustration with Iran, isn't it? If you have a memorandum of understanding, and Trump puts out his perception or interpretation or understanding of it, and then you say, no, that's not correct. Well, why don't you put out what it is that you actually agreed with them? Why don't you put out what you discussed in Pakistan? What the
But
hell?
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe that Trump in his Truth Social X, whatever, tweets or whatever, I don't believe he ever mentioned the points, the exact and specific points of the memorandum of understanding. He just said we're very close to a deal, la 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 la. but he never said, and these are the points that we're agreeing on. So therefore, Iran didn't feel like it was necessary to come and say, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Because Trump said, we're,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Yeah, you're right. He didn't. What he said was, we've agreed a memorandum of understanding, 30 days, extendable by mutual consent. And we're going to talk about the nuclear stuff. And I'm looking forward to the Strait of Hormuz being open. So Iran did
But
debunk the nuclear
but
stuff.
Beatrix,
And the, yeah.
but it's completely contrary to today. 9 hours ago, he posted a photo of a drone taking out an Iranian ship. Then 1 hour ago, he posted a picture of a bomb saying, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." Like, just 2 days ago, he's talking about peace. Today, 2 days later, he's talking about bombing Iran again.
Yeah, but didn't Fars News say that US officials told Iran that, look, whatever he says on social media, like, kind of ignore it. That's just for Americans. It's not
Yeah, it's
real.
just for America. It's just for Americans.
But in terms of what we're discussing, I guess the other thing is, obviously, Trump's not said anything directly. Iran's not said anything directly. But obviously, there is reporting happening from both medias, whether it's Trump aligned media or whether it's Iran aligned media. And then there's some who claim that they've got access to Iranian officials. So, for example, like Dropsite News, they've got a very large following on X. They have a huge subscriber base. They claim they've got a direct line with high level Iranian officials. They keep reporting it to be the case. They're saying the opposite of what anyone's saying. They're basically making it look like Iran's lying about everything because they're saying that Iran is actually negotiated the nuclear. They're just not going to announce it yet. And there's actually like a two-tracked negotiation, and the nuclear is actually being negotiated. And these other things that we're talking about are being negotiated, and there is like give and take from both sides, kind of thing. So that's another point to note. Now you could be like, Dip Drop Site is fake or whatever, but a lot of people see them as trusted media, especially everyone who is anti-Israel. I love them. I don't agree with some of their points. Some of the points are decent. Some of them are not great. But that's another claim that is, you would say, a bit more neutral. Who's claiming it? And then you've got Fars and Tasneem claiming things, and you've got Axios and the rest of the Zionist media kind of claiming things as well. So those are other important things to keep into note.
Yeah, but it could be that the nuclear negotiation is not based on Trump's terms, but based on, okay, we agree we're not going to enrich to the high level that we are now. We're going to lower the amount of not only just the percentage, but the amount of the uranium enrichment. We will close down two of our facilities. We would have the NPT to come and observe what we're doing. Put your cameras up. You know what I mean? But that doesn't
Yeah,
mean
but Iran said that they're not negotiating their nuclear at the moment, right?
right,
They've
because
been
that
saying
was
that.
always a part of the second phase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think you're not understanding my point. So I'm saying that Iran is saying that they're not negotiating the nuclear yet, that this is going to be part of the second phase, as per what you just said now. For example, Dropsite News and the American media are saying that Iran is negotiating the nuclear and it's actually kind of being negotiated. It just won't be announced until later to keep them happy, is the claim. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's,
Dropsite News is not only anti-Israel, it's anti-Pakistan, right? This current kind of leadership, army, military, it is massively anti that. I was reading a tweet from a journalist from Pakistan today calling out Dropsite News, and they had a whole list of um, articles that they'd written against Pakistan over the last, whatever it was, 6 months, that they then went on and deleted because it was fake news. So there was that. But I've just got a bit of news. I'm just going to
Well,
read it out
also
really
as well,
quickly. And
I mean, look, like I said, I don't agree with them totally. I mean, I'm 50-50 on them. There's some ththings they do good, some things I like. For example, they were part of the whole protest propaganda, which was the reason to cause this war. So they, remember, got someone in from the protesters. So I'm not saying that, I'm not reporting them as saying that these guys are like good or amazing or, these are like gospel. I'm just saying that you have American media saying this, you have Iranian media saying that, and these guys kind of are in the middle. They are playing all the sides. And so a bit more towards Iran. But anyway, the point is, but they're more towards the middle. They're claiming that Iran's lying. This is what I'm trying to say. And actually, I am going to ask Professor Morandi that tomorrow. I'm going to be like, look, Drop Site is claiming this. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I look forward to see what he says, to be honest. But there is a bit of news. So just Marco Rubio, his full statement is, the US stands firmly with the legitimate government of Lebanon as it works to restore its authority and build a better future for all its people. I guess that means by giving Israel land. He says Hezbollah's threats of violence and overthrow will not be allowed to succeed. The era in which a terrorist group held an entire nation hostage is coming to an end. He's not even talking about Israel there. Also, Axios is saying Trump told some Arab, and we know this already, but now Axios is saying Trump told some Arab and Muslim leaders that he wants their nations to sign peace agreements with Israel if a deal is reached to end the Iran war. So he's holding the GCC to ransom. And this is the full statement that Tasneem gave. Iran has no optimism towards the United States. No final understanding has been reached yet, and disagreements still persist over some clauses. So it could be what you're saying, Suleiman. There's some clauses. They continue. Even if an initial understanding is reached, it does not change Iran's view of America or its confidence in this administration fulfilling its commitments. Americans have a very bad record in negotiations, which reinforces and solidifies the state of pessimism. Even if an understanding is reached, Iran will monitor American actions throughout the process following the announcement of the understanding. If America breaks its promises, Iran will retain its pressure cards and tasks capable of countering that. So yeah, that's what's just come out. Andy, jump in.
Sorry, my mic was freezing up. So going back to what Marco Rubio was saying, it's absolutely ridiculous. They keep pushing this lie that Hezbollah is terrorist and all this. So yeah, they're trying to say you don't have the right to defend yourself. If your government sells you out to another country, then you just have to lay down your arms and be invaded, which is absolutely ridiculous. It would be like expecting Americans to lay down their arms if our government just said, okay, we're going to let Russia and China invade. Everyone who owns a firearm, you're not allowed to form a militia and resist the invasion. Your government sold you out, so you just have to go along with it. No, that's not how life works. You have every legal right under international law to resist, and that is exactly what Hezbollah has been doing since the 1980s. They've been resisting for 40 years in multiple illegal invasions, but of course, Marco Rubio relies on the MAGA crowd not actually doing research and realizing that fact. They just say, oh, well, they're Muslims and they have some rockets, so therefore Muslim plus rocket equals terrorist, and people are just going to believe that. But once people actually do research, they'll see that the issue is no one actually bothers to do the research, or they're just pre-programmed and they'll be like, yeah, well, I side with the Israelis because they're victims, even though they're not. But the reality is, I think like there was a poll that came out months ago saying now more Americans empathize with the Palestinians than the Israelis because the tide has completely changed. You can't bomb and kill and commit genocide and still say we're the innocent victims against the terrorists. That's not how it works. So no, the propaganda mask is slipping. And I think if you did a poll, do you side with the Hezbollah resistance or the Israelis? I think the majority of the people Americans would be like, yeah, Hezbollah has a right to defend themselves against an invasion. But people make up this lie and act like, oh, Hezbollah has been attacking Israel this whole time, which is simply just not true. Hezbollah only jumped in this war to defend Iran, who was unjustly attacked. Hezbollah got bombed viciously during a ceasefire for 15 months. Israel's literally the only country on this earth that can have a ceasefire and then bomb and commit atrocities and kill civilians. There's no other country that could do that. If there was a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire and Ukraine was just bombing Russia for 15 months, like we wouldn't even let them get away with that. But it's just Israel is the one country that no rules apply to with a ceasefire. They've never held a deal. So then when you have Laura Loomer saying oh, you can't make a deal with someone, you can't make a deal with an Islamic country. No, every allegation, every accusation is a confession. You can't make a peace deal with Israel because they will always break it. Find me the examples of Muslims breaking hundreds of deals. You can't find it. It just hasn't existed. Like, it just hasn't existed. All this Muslim violence they talk about is ISIS, which is funded by the West in Israel. And then they try to say, oh, that's all Muslims. No, Iran, for example, did in their proxies did more to fight ISIS than anyone. And for example, ISIS, despite being in Syria on Israel's border, never attacked Israel. I wonder why. Maybe because they won't bite the hand that feeds them. But people aren't ready for that discussion. You literally have people that think ISIS is a proxy of Iran. I kid you not. I've actually seen some people suggest that, oh, all these terrorists are linked and Iran's the head of the snake. ISIS, Al Qaeda, those are just like proxies. And it's like, Jesus, people are so uneducated, but that's what our job is. We just keep slowly educating people, slowly chipping away at the ignorance and waking people up to the truth, one person at a time.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. It's a really uncertain time, and it impacts all of us greatly. Let's go to Stuart Peter, who's been sat on the panel for a while. Stuart, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Peace be with you. I'd just like to give you a bit of context behind these wars. Now, it's all part of the war of terror, or war on terror, as they call it, which is now 25 years old. It's all connected, and it's all being carried out by the same bad actors in power in Europe and in America and in Israel. And this is a fact. We all know this. Our country here in Britain is just as much under the cosh as you are over there in America. And God love you all. I know you're in a bloody bind, and that's for sure. Now, if I just start at the point of Nord Stream, when they blew Nord Stream, the reason they blew Nord Stream and for the Ukraine war was to cut off the Russian supply of energy into Europe. And that's why Mr. Zelensky, the Zionist who in Ukraine, has been happy to cut off every pipe into Europe. Now, you might ask why, and then you come to the second war at Gaza, and just offshore from Gaza is the Gazan gas field. And just before the Egyptians built the walls to stop the Palestinians escaping into the Sinai, 4 energy companies were in negotiations with Israel for licenses to extract the gas from there, and pump it over to Germany, across to Italy, and then straight into the southern end of the Nord Stream pipes, and then supply Europe, which would then make Israel and Egypt billions. Now we come to the third one, Iran. And the reason they want the straits shut is because they want to put pressure upon the Gulf states to reroute their oil in pipelines up through, into, and out of Haifa. And that then will give Israel control of who gets that oil and those other supplies. And that's what Israel wants. That is their goal, is to become that hub of all energy and to decide who gets it. The reason Europe is quiet is because they expect to be the net beneficiaries of the oil and gas, because they know they all need that energy for their own economies. And like, now that they've made such a piss off job with Russia, and they don't really want to try and get back together with that, their only option, as far as they can see it, is to stay silent whilst this carries on. Now, the reason Trump doesn't want to open a strait is because that is part of the Israeli plan to make the Gulf redundant. Okay, literally redundant. They don't want the shipping going up there. They want it all coming up into Israel. That's their war goal. And I kid you not, Netanyahu has said that by 2030 they expect to be financially independent. Now, you tell me, a country which is war all the time, that takes so many billions off of America and so many arms off of America, intends to get financially independent by 2030. Now, where does America gain? Well, America gains because they'll no longer have to keep this new superpower in the Middle East. You won't have to give them billions anymore. You'll also gain because with all the billions and trillions or whatever they're going to get from that, they would just buy your arms. And so all of your national debt and all your problems would go away because they'd buy all of the arms they need to keep them and you in America as the two major superpowers there. You got to look at who is their target. Well, I'll buy here and just say, and give you one thing to think about. Mr. Putin has also kissed that wall, which says that Russia has a very similar problem to what we have. And if we don't take that into consideration, we might be off in our conclusions. Okay, that's all I have to say. If you want me to add some more, I will, but that's what I wanted. A little bit of context for you guys, that's all.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate you coming on and appreciate you waiting. A Pakistani journalist has just written this. He said, I fear that Trump will announce that Iran has agreed to all our concerns and will start naming them all. These will be the demands Iran has not agreed to at all. America will say Iran backed out and prepare for war on Iran. And he sees that coming. He sees that coming. He sees Trump lying about this and then going all in kinetic again. Interesting, isn't it? Let's go to, give me 1 second. Let me just come back to the space because I was in the news bit. Let's go to Miss Lou.
Thank you, B. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm on computer.
We can hear you. We can hear you. And welcome to Manco and Idris as well. Go ahead, Miss Lou.
Okay, thank you. On Just the News headlines this morning, Trump tells U.S. negotiators not to rush into a deal with Iran because time is on our side. Quote, the blockade will remain in full force and effect until an agreement is reached, certified, and signed. Both sides must take their time and get it right. And then he says later that it's going to be better than any deal that Obama did with Iran. I mean, this is just such gaslighting. You know, people are starting to figure this out. You know, I mean, here we have our government shamelessly saying we're going to blow everybody off the face of the earth and then coming back and, you know, having a peace deal. And then, you know, Israel reacts accordingly. They get too close. We get too close to maybe an agreement with Iran. And then Israel finds a way to screw that up. So I don't trust any of them. And I think the previous speaker talking about energy is absolutely right on. I think that's the purpose of all of this. And am I being ignorant in saying that at one point, with regards to Gaza, they were going to talk about a canal that was going to be built through Gaza, that it was going to be another waterway that was being controlled by Israel, and that was another reason they wanted to take possession. The
Ben Gurion Canal.
Yeah, there you go. I knew there was a name for it. I just couldn't think of it. So anyway, time is not on our side. I don't know. He says MAGA is 100% on my side. That's from a CNN poll. What? I mean, come on. So I don't know. It's crazy what we're being told versus what the reality is. And that's why I enjoy so much in coming in, Suleiman, and your space, because I know you guys will break down, you know, for both sides, you know, to say what's really happening. I just get tired even of many of these spaces that are just so gaslighting, and they just keep swallowing a pill that isn't true. So anyway, thank you. Happy Memorial Day to everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Lou, and happy Memorial Day to yourself and all our American friends that join us here as well. I know it's an important weekend, so happy Memorial Day from all of us, myself, Suleiman, and everybody on the panel. Look, one thing is, I think you'd struggle to find any two people on our panel who have 100% the same understanding of everything that's going on. We all have a different perspective, and we all talk through that different perspective. And I think that's really important, because if you're not going to allow that, then you're building a cult. And I'm allergic to cults, to be honest. Can't be dealing with that. So, yeah. Appreciate you, Miss Lou. And I know, and Doc, who was here, and I don't know if he's come up or not because my app is glitching. Um, maybe he's disappeared. But Doc will tell you that, sometimes you just have to, like, and I'm sure Manco, will tell you as well that having, been part of, Doc was part of, Doc and I used to do huge MAGA spaces. Doc was integral to the MAGA movement 4 years ago, one of the biggest influences in MAGA. And when he started coming on to talk about Gaza and the genocide, he took backlash, but he didn't care because it was important. He's America
Over
first.
2,000 spaces you did for MAGA, Khaleesi, 2,000.
All right, time to boot Jonah.
B, I think you nailed it. America first is a better term, I think, as something we can agree to as Americans. And here's my two solutions. One, no more dual passports. Pick a country, and I'm talking about for any country, not just Israel, but China, any of them, Russia. No more dual passports. Pick a country and be aligned with it. And put your allegiance to that. It doesn't mean you don't love your homeland, but if you're going to be an American citizen, then by God, be an American citizen. And the other thing I think we need to fix is campaign finance. But unfortunately, because of the corruption in our politics, good luck with us trying to fix that. Because the donor class, including AIPAC, the effect that they have on our elections is frankly disgusting. And thank you again.
Yeah, good solutions, Miss Lou.
One thing I thought of a lot during this Memorial Day is when Russia attacked Ukraine, a lot of people were on the side of Ukraine, right? I think a lot of people who don't understand history and what happened in 2014, but still, a lot of people were on the side of Ukraine. I didn't see the Ukrainian flag. I didn't see congressmen with the Ukrainian
Bro, there were so many. What are you
pin.
talking about?
Yeah, but not the way. Look,
They were in Congress waving it like crazy.
Suleiman, listen. There is a hell of a lot more Ukrainians than there are Israelis, right? Yet in Congress,
Fake news.
there's not.
Well, okay, Israelis, you said, isn't it? Not Jews.
No, but even if it were Jews, there's only supposed to be 16.
So many of them, Joe.
Yeah, but supposedly there's only supposed to be 16 million.
Well, supposedly,
Right.
supposedly you can trans kids, and supposedly you can do so much. But what's the reality?
Well, it would kind of break down the number of the 6 million that was announced for 30 years prior, almost every single decade. That it'd be a hard time to prove that 6 million died if you have more than 16 million today. But I don't know. There's a hell of a lot more Israeli flags up in America and congressmen wearing Israeli pins than there were Ukrainian. And that's what, like, I don't get these people who think they're a patriot and they have an Israeli flag out on their lawn. That's not what being a patriot was before, and on Memorial Day, especially, like, I don't know why it's like really in my mind that,
Joa,
being
sorry to interrupt,
patriotic?
Joa, honey. Joa,
No.
don't you remember when Pelosi and all those congressmen took a knee, and they all had the Ukrainian flags on their lapels, and that was the whole push at that time.
Yeah, they
I'm
did.
not going to talk about, yeah.
Yeah, but it hasn't. I don't think it was as many, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a bias. I don't think it was as many, but it definitely wasn't for as long, right? And you were allowed to criticize the government of Ukraine. You can't criticize the government of Israel, right? I mean, Trump's making fun of, basically making fun of Zelensky. Imagine if a president went and made fun of Netanyahu.
Joa, we put Zelensky in power. That's what's so stupid about all of it.
We did.
We're the ones. U.S. put Zelensky in office. That's Victoria Nuland.
Yeah, Miss Lou, you're pretty based, especially for your age. I wish your intelligence would spread to the rest of your generation.
I told you, mommy worked for Reagan. I got a little bit of a taste when I was a young kid. I was handed Alinsky's book. I was handed Mao. I was handed Marx and told, read it.
And you know what? That's not actually true, Joa. In the UK, all we saw was freaking blue and yellow flags when that war started. And I remember there's you probably heard of it, Stop the War Coalition, which organizes like the pro-Palestinian or anti-genocide protests. They've been around a long time. I think it was 48 hours before the war kicked off, or there was talk of it, the build up of it. 11 Labour MPs, members of parliament, signed a statement for Stop the War. They didn't mention Putin. They didn't mention Zelensky. That's not actually true. In the UK, all we saw was freaking blue and yellow flags when that war started. Who the fuck is reporting this? You probably heard of Stop the War Coalition. Gigi, what the hell
What?
is going on?
What is that?
Recording us.
Bro, no one wants to hear Beatrix twice, bro. Like, what
No,
is
yes,
wrong with
we
that? It's
do.
like a nightmare. Like, I felt like I was just writing something, and I felt like I was flipping, getting some kind of torture. This is worse than Guantanamo Bay.
Why is Gigi recording us? That's what I want to
She's
know.
probably playing the YouTube, isn't she?
What?
I bet you at YouTube. Yeah, she had YouTube going, the space channel.
That was scary. Oh, blessed
It
be your ears, Suleiman.
definitely was scary. I agree with you there.
Blessed be your ears, Suleiman. So 11 members of parliament signed a statement saying, stop the war. That's all they said. It wasn't about, they didn't mention Zelensky, they didn't mention Putin, they didn't mention either side. They said stop the war. They were told they've got 24 hours to take that statement back saying stop the war, or they will be suspended as members of parliament. And all of them took that statement back because they were going to lose, literally cause a massive political crisis and a by-election. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy what happened. The censorship was wild. So, for example, I think somebody who was of Russian heritage couldn't play tennis at Wimbledon that year unless he stood up and denounced Russia. He was banned from Wimbledon, world-class tennis player. Every sport came into it. It's disgusting what they did.
Univision as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't see any of that go on. And I saw the opposite when it came to Israel and Palestine. Like the Palestinians were censored. I think it's just living in disgusting times. But yeah. Let's welcome Manko. And then we'll go to it. Hang on, just before I come to you, Manko, let me go to Idris. Idris, jump in.
Hey there, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I think, the problem is, especially with Trump, I think he's like really compromised really badly. So I think that Netanyahu has fully control over him. And I think, they act like they're buddies, but I think he's just stuck in between, keeping the American people happy and doing the bidding of with Netanyahu once. I think the Iranian people should, especially the government, should send they should take something from like what Bin Laden did with his letter to the American people. They should address the American people directly because the American people could stand up and put like some pressure on Trump. Because if the Iranian government keeps really quiet about like the negotiations, they should put everything on the table, what's happening, so that people could be better informed. Because now we don't know exactly what's happening. That's a little idea that I had in my mind, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. They should. They had great transparency in the beginning, and I'd love to see that transparency again. Appreciate you, Idris. Appreciate you joining us, and thank you for waiting to speak to us. Manko, what are your thoughts? Deal, no deal, Trump reneging. What Idris just said, Trump's caught in the middle
Sorry, I
between
have to
Israel.
do it. My girlfriend's bothering me right now.
He's what?
His
My girlfriend's
girlfriend,
bothering me.
something.
I can't talk yet. Let me come back.
His girlfriend's
Bro,
bothering.
why haven't you got it on locks, bro? Oh my god. And he's got an
Have
Asian
you?
girlfriend and he ain't got it on locks. Oh well.
Oh my gosh. Have you guys discussed that?
Wait, Gigi, do you want to explain your behavior before?
Which behavior? Sorry. Which
Well,
Gigi?
you came up. By the way, Zirib said Sully, I've now asked the free detainees from Gitmo, and they are laughing, love, at Beatrix. Yeah, they agree with me. See, even the people in Guantanamo Bay, Beatrix, are agreeing with me that hearing you twice is torturous. But Gigi, you came up on the space and you were playing some audio of
I think
Beatrix
you guys
talking.
would have
Oh,
said
it's the
this,
other
right?
it's not, it's the other Gigi. This is the other Gigi.
What?
Um,
Huh?
I think there are two Gigis on this panel. This is the
No,
other
it
one.
was
There's
you. It was you.
was it?
I think
Interesting.
Are
Okay.
we watch
are you
listening to
listening to the YouTube?
YouTube channel. You have the
Were
YouTube
you
channel.
listening to YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do have that up. Okay, so apologies. I don't know what happened there. Um, have you
I
guys
don't know. Why did you
discussed
give an
that?
answer? Why did you give the answer? Is she part of your WF agenda, Joe?
Mine. She's obviously working for Beatrix. She's rebroadcasting her message, not me.
Good point. Good point. Good point. No, but she's trying to torture us. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Go ahead, Gigi.
Have you guys discussed that Lindsey Graham is pushing for Saudi and Pakistan and Qatar moving forward with the Abraham Accords to be part of the peace deal?
Yes, we did. You
Okay,
missed it, so we didn't talk
that's
about
why
that. But
that's
no, but
why
good
I
point.
asked.
No. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's why
Go
I
ahead,
asked. Okay.
Gigi. Give us your thoughts on it.
Oh no, I think it's crazy. This deal is not going to go through just because of that.
Oh, you think that's the reason
Yeah.
why?
Well, no. I there because of everything going on that it's not going to go through. There's no way that Israel's going to let it happen, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's where we are. It's a really bad situation. I think they should just pull out. I think this is just nonsense, and because they're not going to sign a peace deal. Honestly, yesterday I thought they were going to announce the memorandum of understanding and just let everything fade away and not come back to it until they're ready to like really handle Iran. But now I think they're never going to sign anything, period, and just come back to Iran later after they deal with a few other countries.
Cool. Let's go to Ali. Ali, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. How are you? How's things?
Salam, how you doing? Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that I went into the VA hospital in Manhattan the other day and had some work done, and I noticed that Trump's presidential picture was turned upside down, and that was the Manhattan VA, and I was like, that's like the second time I saw that in 6 months. It amazed me because there was no veterans police around or any security had tried to correct it. And then when I saw a police officer, they just walked by it and didn't correct it. So I don't know what you feel about that, but I think that Trump is not respected at all, really, in this country. I mean, in a VA hospital in Manhattan, in New York, I was amazed. Thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy, Ali. It shows the level of discontent people have with Trump. What do you think happens with this war, Ali?
I have to believe, I have to give you my opinion or my understanding following, uh, the being a Shia Muslim and understanding how these this the Shia think, being that the Iranian people, I believe it's 90% they believe in this whole theological struggle of justice, and I believe that we're at a crossroads where we have two we have two different worldviews. One of the oppressor, which Trump represents, and one of the oppressed, which Iran represents. And Iran is at the point now that it has proved that you can be a bully for so long, but sooner or later, somebody's going to punch you in your face and back you down and let you know who's who. And it's said that it had a result to the Law of the Jungle. And I saw that man Haas, Brother Haas, on Press TV today. He was really impressive. I believe he's in Iran, or I don't know where they taped that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ali, he's actually in Iran, so he came on the space the other day and talked about it, and his experience there and things like that. But appreciate you, Ali. Thank you for joining. I just want to read something out really quickly to people. So, this what Ali was talking about, right? About punching in the face and stuff. I don't know what Trump's got planned here, but currently. And I don't know if this has always been the case, but there's 5 US refueling tankers active over CENTCOM. 2 KC-46A Pegasus aircrafts are directly over the Persian Gulf. 3 more KC-46 and KC-135s are operating across the broader theater. And both tankers departed from Tel Aviv, heading east towards the Persian Gulf. So these refueling tankers, obviously, they don't fly combat missions. They only exist to extend the range of the aircrafts behind them, like the F-35s, F-15s, and B-2. So I think he's like giving us the illusion of diplomacy, Trump is, but he's keeping the war front, kind of going. So it's interesting, to be honest. That's just crazy. He's crazy.
Well, Beatrix, they
Mm.
still do a lot of like reconnaissance
Oh, hello.
missions
Is your
and things like
girlfriend stop
that.
bothering you? Let me stop bothering you. Manko? Are we girlfriend free zone? Are we good?
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Manko. We can't hear you.
He might be in trouble. Might be in
Uh,
trouble again.
He's in trouble again.
No, I just had to
Wow.
like my phone is slow. So yeah, no, I was just saying that they're still going to be doing a lot of like reconnaissance missions and flying their big like intelligence aircraft and stuff around the Gulf and around Iran to be looking at things. So they're still going to have the tankers around and things like that. They can't also, for the sake of leverage, if they start withdrawing a bunch of forces from the Middle East, all that does is send the signal to Iran that they aren't going to bomb Iran, even if Iran doesn't follow through with the negotiations. So they have to keep, this is why you can't have a process that takes a long period of time, because you can't remove the US forces until the peace agreement is done. So dragging it out and having it take months and months and months only benefits Iran. I don't actually think anything's going to happen. I think Trump wants it to happen, so he's kind of forcing it, and he wants this solution. I don't think Israel particularly wants it to happen, but I think Israel is confident that it's not going to actually get finalized, and Iran's not going to actually do the commitments. The Trump administration did an on background call with a bunch of people, and it got posted. I sent one of the people who wrote down what was said to Suleiman, but it's basically the Trump administration says, well, we are not going to get taken advantage of because we're not going to do anything for Iran until Iran does things first. And then that way we're not going to do what the Obama administration did and like give Iran a bunch of goodies and then hope that Iran does it back later and then they don't, etc. The problem is that unless and until the Strait of Hormuz is open, no tolls, nothing, the normal commercial traffic resumes where you get back to like 100 ships plus a day, that kind of thing. Until that happens, time is on Iran's side, not on the side of the US and Israel. So, because Iran's theory of victory, the IRGC theory of victory is we keep Hormuz closed long enough to inflict enough pain that Israel and America have to agree to our terms. So, once that opens, then the timing now shifts and it doesn't matter anymore, and you can take as long as you want. but we haven't seen that happen yet. And they've been talking about it for 6 weeks. So I'm not going to believe that any kind of peace deal is real until the Strait of Hormuz opens. I don't think it's actually going to happen, because I think that for that to happen, the IRGC would have to bend the knee and say, we're giving up on our objectives, and we're just not going to pursue we're just going to let like the negotiators take over and run the country. I don't think they're going to do that. I think the IRGC runs the country, and I think the negotiators have to work for them and do what they want. And when the negotiators say, oh, by the way, Iran has to give all the uranium, we got to get it all together, and we have to give it to America, move it out of the country, we have to dismantle all our nuclear facilities, which Netanyahu posted earlier. There's 3 demands that Israel will not like comply with any peace unless these 3 things are met for Netanyahu. And he said he had a call with Trump, and Trump totally agreed with him on this. So number 1, Israel absolutely requires that Iran completely dismantle its nuclear enrichment facilities. Number 2, that they physically remove all of the enriched uranium out of the country. They're not even talking about the 60% anymore. They're talking about all the enriched uranium, including the stuff that's only a few percent. And then number 3, Israel will not have any limitation placed upon it for attacking, Lebanon, the Palestinians, whatever, the Houthis, whoever they want to attack, they're going to attack whoever they want. They're not going to accept any limitations. I do not believe that the IRGC would sign any agreement that says those things. And it's the parties, like I've said many times, the parties are too far apart. I think the Iranian negotiators have to tell Trump what he wants to hear, because they don't want the bombing to start again. And Trump makes these threats, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll do it your way. But at the end of the day, I just don't see it happening. There would have to be so much political change in Iran for that to happen. And even in that call, the White House source said, oh, we think the moderates are like ascendant, but we still admit that the hardliners are in control. And it's like, well, I mean, okay, hardliners not going to remotely agree with any of the things that the US and Israel are saying are the deal. So I don't see this going anywhere, and I think it's just a delaying tactic. And I think at some point the war's going to have to restart. It's just a matter of time, unless the Strait of Hormuz opens. I think if they open the Strait of Hormuz, which they won't do, I don't think Trump would go back to war for like anything. I think Israel would pressure Trump a lot to go back to war, but as long as the Strait of Hormuz is open, I don't think Trump even cares like about finalizing the deal. He'll let it drag on for years. That's all.
So there's a lot to unpack there, Manko, in terms of what you just said. Firstly, I just don't, I mean, some of it I want to ask you questions on, but this thing where you said Iran's just telling Trump what Trump wants to hear so that Iran doesn't get bombed again. I do not believe that that's what Iran's doing in any way, shape, or form. I think Trump's the one who's lying here. I don't think Trump's being misled by Iran. Trump's got form, right? He's got form for lying. So that I just cannot see in any world in which that's the case. But the thing I do want to ask you is, and I was thinking about this anyway, when you say Israel will not be, happy with any sort of deal here because Israel just wants to carry on bombing, blah, blah, blah. Hypothetically, let's say that Saudi, Qatar, various other GCC countries, whoever's not part of Abraham Accords, said, yeah, we'll sign Abraham Accords. And a massive piece of Lebanese land was carved out to give to Netanyahu. And the Gaza Peace Board was established, and, Hamas didn't have any more weapons left. And the West Bank was carved out even more and given as Israeli territory. Then what? You still, oh, Manco's gone. Fine. Never mind.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see him back. Yeah, I see him dropped out of the speaker panel.
Yeah, I think it's Joa.
But hey, Beatrice, can you continue though? We're listening. Your points there. I really like where you're going there. if you don't mind, if Suleiman gives you the
Yeah,
green light.
I just think that I think when people say, "Oh, there's no way Israel will agree to anything because Israel wants to continue bombing," and I'm like, okay, what if they got southern Lebanon gifted to them? What if and none of these things are going to happen, by the way, and I'm not suggesting they do, and I'm not suggesting we want them, but I'm just saying it challenges that line of thinking that Israel would never agree to a deal. What if they got southern Lebanon gifted to them? What if they got another half of the West Bank that is left, that isn't occupied, gifted to them? Or let's say the whole of the West Bank. Let's say the Gaza peace board took place. Let's say no weapons were going into Hamas anymore, because Hamas has not been mentioned as part of this discussion anyway. Between Lebanon has, and they've said, stop fighting across all fronts, but Hamas hasn't been mentioned. Let's say Hamas just disarmed just because they have no more weapons left, and therefore Israel, America, Trump, Zionists, whatever you want to call it, have complete control of Gaza under the Gaza Peace Board. And then these GCC countries turn around and said, yes, we're going to sign the Abraham Accords. We're going to normalize with Israel. We're going to come on board. And on top of that, Netanyahu got his plea deal and he was pardoned. Well, you think they still wouldn't accept it?
I think
Yeah,
it's probably accurate. Wait, so I crashed right when you started talking, Beatrix, and I was just able to come back up like a minute ago, but I heard what you said. The three things Netanyahu's outlined in his tweet that he said that he got agreement from with Trump, I think those are the things that are existential to Israel. They're very afraid of Iran having nuclear weapons. That's the obsessive thing that's overrides everything else. If Iran does have to dismantle the facilities and remove the uranium, even if at a later date Iran, like let's say the US and China go to war and Iran's like, okay, cool, well, the US is busy, so we can do whatever we want now. It would take them so long to restart the nuclear program if they had to start over from scratch that Israel would be satisfied with that. Like they think this is going to effectively mean Iran can never get a nuclear weapon, and that takes that off the board for them. And the other thing that they care about is that they're not going to make any commitments to, quote, not be able to defend themselves, meaning that, if they get, Israel does whatever it wants. If they say that they got attacked by Hezbollah, then they're just going to go in and do a bunch of counterattacks or do their bombardment, do their bombing, whatever they do. So I think those are the core issues. And I think other than that, Israel doesn't care about much of anything else. As far as they also earlier in the war said that they cared about like the proxies and the missile program, but I think that they're satisfied enough that they could handle that on their own moving forward. I did see reports that said that Iran is going to have a very hard time reconstituting its ballistic missile program to make more ballistic missiles, but that's not true with drones. The drones are much simpler and much easier to make. And there were like US intelligence assessments or something that sources were talking about saying that Iran has already reconstituted its ability to make drones, which they expected to take a lot longer, but drones are not very hard to make, so they were able to recover that very quickly. So I think Israel's not so much worried about drones. The drones are overwhelmingly used on the GCC countries. They're more worried about the medium range ballistic missiles, and I think they're confident enough that that's not coming back anytime soon. So all they care about, like I said, is the three things that Netanyahu outlined. I think he's being honest about that that's what Israel actually cares about. And he's announcing it publicly in order to sort of bind Trump so that Trump can't go against it publicly. And that's about it. I think other than that, all of the Gulf states, what they care about is just Hormuz primarily. So I think when you throw Hormuz into the deal, all of those states don't care anymore. Like they care a little bit about the nuclear program and stuff like that, but Israel cares about that much more. The US cares about that much more. So I think that's pretty much all it's going to take from Israel. I think they're going to play a much more minor role in the whole like negotiations process because because the United States already cares about the nuclear program. So they don't need Israel to tell them that that's a priority. They already agreed that's a priority.
Manco, sorry, I'm just gonna, because I want it to be a dialogue. But this whole thing of Israel cares about the nuclear program and America does, like Tulsi Gabbard literally said, they don't have nuclear weapons yet. For 40 years, Iran's been 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. This is just a facade. The only thing, let's just cut to the chase. This isn't about nukes or anything else. And I don't think the GCC really care about the Strait of Hormuz either. I think they just want this to end one way or another. The only thing that this is about, right, is the fact that Iran resists Israel, unlike other GCC countries, right? Iran has armed and helped resistance factions, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. That's what this is about. It's not about nukes. It was never about nukes. They had a fatwa saying they would never have nuke. Tulsi Gabbard said they've got no nuclear program. This is
You don't really think
Iraq
that.
WMDs. You're saying
Beatrix.
this is
Beatrix.
like you saying,
He
oh,
could change the fatwa at any
they
time.
only invade Iraq because Iraq hasn't come clean with the WMDs. That's what it sounds like to me.
Wait, Beatrix, so they can get 99% of the way to a nuclear weapon, and then he can just change the fatwa and then get a nuclear weapon the next day. Like, that doesn't actually stop them from getting a nuke at all.
So
They enriched.
why did Trump rip up the JCPOA?
The JCPOA was a joke. If the JCPOA continued, Iran would have a nuke right now.
Okay, so let's just say, I don't believe that for a second, right? Put aside everything I've just said. Why are two nuclear powers dictating to a third that they cannot have a nuclear weapon?
Because that's how it works. Because might makes right, and the U.S. and Israel are the ones with the might, so they make the rules.
Franco is gone 20 years ago, maybe, but no, America's not mighty anymore. There's a president that's filling his own pockets. America's in debt. America's struggling. The only thing American can do is walk into a country, invade it like they did with Venezuela, rape, pillage, and steal their oil. That's not like, they've met their match in Iran. Literally, they have. Why hasn't he gone kinetic again? Trump said he was going to wipe out a whole civilization. Why does he keep tacoing?
No, he said, I don't want to wipe out a civilization, so please make a deal. And he thinks they're making a deal.
No. He said a whole civilization is going to be wiped out tonight. And then he continued and saying, I really don't want to do it, but I will if I have to. He keeps tacoing. Why does he keep tacoing?
Yeah, because he thinks, here's the thing. I've already said my position. My position is that I don't believe that Iran actually wants a deal. I think the IRGC controls the country. The ideology of the IRGC controls the country. Even if you have someone who's a quote unquote moderate in Iran, they have to couch negotiations in terms of furthering the objectives of the war, not in terms of, oh, we should actually make nice with the United States, because if they actually took that position, they'd get put in jail. Like, that's completely not tolerated. So if you have a situation where they don't actually want to make peace, what they're actually doing is successfully conning Trump so that time can remain on Iran's side, because every day
oh my God, is he that
the
easy
Strait
to
of
con?
Hormuz,
Like, literally, is he that easy to con? He's not a freaking kindergarten kid, man.
yeah, when he wants something and he has his mind set on something, it's just like how, like a guy who is thirsty can get tricked. Even if he might be a very smart guy under other circumstances, but if he's thirsty, he hasn't had sex in years, and a very beautiful woman is telling him some very obvious lies, he'll just go along with it and believe it. And you'll be like, well, how can this guy be so stupid? Because he's not thinking rationally. Trump already had his mind made up that we're going to do this mission, we're going to bomb these certain targets, and then when I'm satisfied and I feel done bombing, just like in the 12-day war, then I can just declare it to be over, and Iran has to go along with it. Well, Iran didn't go along with it. And Trump's ever since then has been like, well, that's crazy. Why don't they just go along with it? They're not making any sense. And he's got himself stuck in this frame where he's like, well, they should just go along with it. So Iran has been very resistant with him over the course of these weeks, but they tell him just enough so that he calls off the bombing every time, which is why he always says, oh, we're right about to bomb them again. And then he calls it off at the last minute, because the Iranian negotiators know what they're doing, and they know what they need to say.
Go to Johnny, but Yeah, I want to say a couple of things to you. When you use an analogy for Trump, I wouldn't use like hot chicks and fit chicks and women when it comes to Trump, because I find that difficult to imagine as an analogy. It just kind of brings back everything that he has done in the past. But also, listen, Trump said, we've destroyed their navy. It's at the bottom of the sea. We've destroyed their army. Their missiles have gone. And recently it was 82%. He said 82% gone. I don't know who counted them and told him. It was exactly 82%. So nobody's fooling him. The guy is a serial liar. How many times did you destroy their navy? Where
Yeah,
is it at
but
the
they
bottom?
don't
If
need a
their navy
navy.
is at the bottom of
They
the
don't need a
sea.
navy though. Their navy doesn't do anything. So yeah, sure,
Okay,
he'll say he
so
destroyed
wait,
the
hang on a
navy.
minute. Manco, let me tell you something. If they have no leadership left, if there's been complete regime change, if they have no military left, if they have no navy left, if they have destroyed all of their missiles once and 82% the second time, so they've only got, what, 18% of missiles left, opening the Strait of Hormuz should be easy feat for Trump.
Beatrix, no
We're on
one's
day
saying that.
86
No
and
one
count.
is saying that they have nothing left. Even the
What I'm
US,
saying to you is he's a liar,
even the US
because
like
otherwise the proof is in the
official like
pudding, right?
analyst stuff that they put out says they said that they destroyed a lot of the industrial infrastructure for certain military things like the missile program and stuff like that. But they did not say that they destroyed that percentage of the missiles. They also
I've got Trump
listen,
on camera saying it. Shall I play the clip?
well, I don't know. Trump says a lot of stuff. Trump probably was told the true thing,
That's
and
my
then
point, Manco. You're saying
he
what I'm
like
saying now, that
paraphrased
he
it in a
lied.
way that was not true. So he does that all the time.
He didn't paraphrase it. He said, we have destroyed 82% of their missiles. I have a clip of him
Yeah,
saying it 3 or 4 days
the
ago
guy,
when he was at that ballroom he's trying to build. He was stood there boasting about it, right?
Beatrix, the guy from the Pentagon, when he was talking to Congress, said a similar number, but he wasn't talking about the missiles themselves. He was talking about all of like the industrial capacity to build them and stuff like that. That's the only, because I asked Grok to look up all the statements on this subject, and the only statements that came up were about the industrial capacity. They haven't made any public statements about the actual percentage of missiles left. There was a leaked thing when the war was still going on, like at the end of March or so, where there was a US assessment that 1/3 were gone with high confidence, 1/3 were not gone with high confidence, and the middle third, they did not have confidence. So they just figured that the amount of missiles that were left was somewhere between, like 35 to 65%, something like that.
They
Trump says
did.
lots of crazy things.
Yeah, but Mangles, he did. They were saying missiles. They were. Beatrice is right. We have to go look that up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I actually asked Grok to do a review of the sources to actually pull the exact quotes and the exact like sources for them, and I went through them because we had this conversation the other day about how many missiles were left, and there haven't been any statements particularly. There was a statement from a Washington Post article that said that a large percentage were remained, like a large for like 70% or something. And the Pentagon came out and replied to that by saying, no, that's garbage. That's wrong. That's not true.
So
However, they
I'll tell
didn't
you what
say
he
what the
said.
actual number was.
Yeah, let me tell you what he said. Trump said their missile, like, because he was asked about their ability to retaliate Iran's, and he says they've got a little bit. We estimate we've destroyed 82% of their missiles. They've got very little ability to actually. In fact, you know what? Let me play the clip, but it is a bit noisy because there's work going on in the background. Obviously, he's building his frigging ballroom, isn't he? That's where he is. Listen.
Express to you any concern about Iran's ability to still retaliate in the event? They have a little ability. Their missiles are 82% gone, we estimate. Their capacity to build is very little right now because we hit all of their manufacturing areas. Same thing with drones, largely gone, but they still have a little capacity. Yeah, not much, but they have a little.
Little capacity, drones gone, 82% we estimate, missiles gone. Ability to rebuild is very little, yet the Strait of Hormuz is not open and Trump hasn't done an attack. Speaks
Yeah,
for
I
itself.
mean,
But
the
Manco,
main
I want you to
reason
hold there because I think,
he's not doing.
yeah, I want you to respond, but
Yeah.
wait, just 1 second, because I think Johnny wants to actually respond to you, and then you can have a back and forth with Johnny as well, because I think he's got a take on this, if I'm not wrong. Welcome, Johnny. Jump in.
Good evening, Beatrice. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can.
I think you were spot on what you said when this has never been about getting nuclear weapons. It's never been about that. It's always been about Israel wanting its enemies weakened so they can never basically rise up against Israel. That's what always been about, for Israel to expand their borders, expand their territory, steal more territory, and make sure that they're the dominant power or the hegemon, if you want, in the region. That's what it's always been. This nuclear bomb is just a ruse. It's a smokescreen solution. It's nonsense. When the JCPOA was in place in 2015, I was listening to Joe Rogan today with Scott Orton. Anybody knows Scott Orton? He's got a PhD in this stuff. Like, the guy is, for me, anyway, he's an extremely good source of information to learn from. And basically, Iran does not have a route to plutonium bomb. They've all got a route, and if they get to weapons grade, yeah, for a uranium bomb, even if they get to weapons grade uranium, it would take them a year to make an actual warhead, right? And Barack Obama stated in 2014 that when Netanyahu was in his era, he constantly wanted to attack Iran. And he was saying to him, look, if they break out and make a warhead, I will attack Iran. I will attack Iran. But I'm trying to sort this out a different way diplomatically to not, like, kill innocent people or whatever his reason was, right? But that's not good enough for Netanyahu. That's why he's managed to get into Donald Trump's ear, and he's got him to attack Iran. Like, just gullible idiot. You're a gullible idiot. Like, before this war kicked off, America still had this, like, cloak of, like, supremacy, and this, where their allies, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all believed in this cloak that America's superior, and if we get into trouble, they'll come and defend us. That's all completely gone now. All the US bases in the region are being destroyed. They're all destroyed. So, like, I don't understand what what Trump's goal is at this point, because as I said, it's a completely unpopular war in America. All the military bases have been destroyed. The radar systems have been destroyed. And again, according to Scott Orton today, and again, you can take it or leave it, but I put a lot of value and weight into his opinion. They're already back to 75% capability with a short range and medium range interceptor missiles. So, like, I don't. If it was that easy, like you said, Beatrix, like, why is the Strait not open then? If it was that easy, why is it not open? And just to give some perspective, guys, right? Just imagine if this was done to America. So they killed Khomeini, right? Sorry if I didn't pronounce his name correctly. Who in sheer world is a number two guy, right? He's very important, right? He's the head of state. Imagine if Iran killed Americans in the state, so killed Donald Trump, right? And at the same time he was Catholic, right? Killed the head of state, killed the Catholic, or the second most important Catholic in the world, right? As well as then bombing two schools, yeah? So imagine Pearl Harbor, not only did they send all the sailors to bomb the sea, but they killed all the children as well. Because that's what America's done to Iran. Imagine what America would have done if Iran did that to America. It's just hypocrisy, man. It's just double standards. Everyone makes out that Iran is the big bad wolf, when Donald Trump and America just go around the globe, just like slaughtering innocent people with no consequences, no repercussions, no accountability, nothing. But yet you want to have the audacity to point fingers at Iran. And I'm not here to defend Iran, by the way. Like, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, being objective, being truthful. If they did that to America, like, you drop nukes on them. That's what you do. You drop nukes on them. So, yeah, I don't know what Trump's going to do. I think he's an absolute idiot. I think anybody drinking that Kool-Aid that he's selling you, he's just gonna fry your brain cells, because all he does every time he opens his mouth, he lies. Like, he's a compulsive liar. He wouldn't know the truth, it's slapped him in the face. But I'll finish there. Thank you for letting me speak, Beatrix. I appreciate that.
Thanks for that, Johnny. Appreciate it. Let's go to Andy. Andy, jump in.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous saying, oh, Iran doesn't want a deal. Iran offered a nuclear deal that was similar or even better than what Obama got before the war started. And I think, that they're offering to not do any further enrichment. They offered a good deal, and they said, and Bibi was like, no, we want a regime change. We want the missiles destroyed. So yeah, if Trump was actually free to negotiate under his own free will, then yeah, Trump would have signed that deal in a heartbeat, but he's not free to negotiate under his own free will. He's a coward that serves the Israeli interest, and Israel wanted a regime change, or at least Iran significantly weakened so they could pursue their greater Israel ambitions without any opposition in the region. And I mean, we see how that's worked out now. Iran has the Strait of Hormuz blockaded every day. The United States strategic oil reserves lessons. So if Iran just sits here, they can say, okay, you can accept our terms, or you're going to have to try to fight us. And that didn't work so well the last time. Iran has way more missiles and drones than there are interceptors for the US, Israel, and the Gulf states. So it's just a simple math game that the United States and Israel cannot win militarily. That's just the reality of the situation. The United States is trying to fight a late 20th century war where, oh, we can just drop a bunch of bombs on a country and win, but they're fighting against 21st century hypersonics and cheap drones. Like the United States does not even have a mass produced force of cheap drones in the way Iran does. Like we're spending $1 trillion on our military and we don't have a match for the Shahed. Sure, we have this Lucas drone, but it costs more. It's not as good, and we don't have it in the mass quantities. And the fact that we were this unprepared for this war after seeing that drone warfare is clearly the future of war just by watching 4 years of Russia and Ukraine and how Ukraine was able to do long range strikes and take out Russian energy infrastructure. The fact that we were looking at this and being like, there's no way Iran could possibly do the same thing, and to think that it's just completely ridiculous. Like, I think honestly, it's like I'm starting to wonder if they think they knew this would happen and the entire goal of this was to destroy the global economy. Because I posted in a comment back in June that if the US got involved in a war with Iran, because I was concerned they were going to get involved in a 12-day war, that Iran would shut down the strait and it could cause a global recession. And now, I mean, we're probably, I'd say, how long do you think they have really to get it open to avoid the worst economic effects? I'd say 2-3 months. Like they can't keep it closed indefinitely. I mean, eventually strategic oil reserves run out and then you really have a problem. The strategic oil reserves is the only thing that's keeping the gas prices from going absolutely crazy, and 450 is still ridiculously high when it was below 3 before the war and it was at 320 this time last year. So it's almost a 50% increase from where gas should be without the war. That is absolutely going to be horrible for inflation. We already saw it was at 2.3% annual inflation expected in February. Then it went up to 3.3% in March, and now it's 3.8% in April. And that number is going to keep going up as long as the strait is closed. And you have to remember, sure, it's not as high as the inflation under Biden, but it's a compounding effect. It was already things were already unaffordable in America, already unaffordable in a lot of the West. So when you compound even 3.8% inflation on top of already unaffordable prices, that 3.8% inflation is a lot more than wage growth, and you have a serious economic problem. And so Iran is happy to just sit here until their terms are met. And Iran wasn't demanding 100% sanctions relief. They weren't demanding tolls. They weren't demanding their full nuclear enrichment capabilities or the ability to before the war, but they gained leverage because they got attacked and they held on to the strait, which is all they needed to do, and prove that they can cause damage to enemy targets.
Cool. So 1 second. Let me just oops, what's under my phone? Okay, I just wanted to give some news actually. Let me just quickly give you some news. And it's here. Okay, the IDF are continuing to attack in the West Bank. They continue to chop olive trees there. The oil prices crashed. The futures market opened just about 20 minutes ago, and I believe the oil prices crashed by 5%, all the way down to $92 a barrel. What else we got? We got Mohammed Rezai says, our finger is on the trigger for the fourth battle. Our Iranians are negotiating to restore the Knights of the Iranian nation. This is the final stage. 47 years will reach a conclusion that ensures security for the next 50 years. Trump really posted another image of him with a bomb saying thank you for your attention to this matter. Trump apparently told the Arab leaders on that big phone call to normalize with Israel, and apparently they all just remained quiet when he said it. So that's kind of the latest. Also, 5 US refueling tankers are active over CENTCOM now. For 2 KC-46 Pegasus aircrafts are directly over the Persian Gulf. 3 more KC-46 and KC-135s are operating across the broader theater. They both depart Tel Aviv and moving towards the Persian Gulf. So that's going to be interesting to see what that means. Okay, that's the latest on that one. Joe, what's your thoughts on the oil prices dropping? Do you think it has any kind of
Yeah.
impact, or is it just another one of those like roller coasters?
How much did you say was down?
5% is down to $92.
That's crazy. It,
Why?
well, it's not crazy because they let out ships. Like, I don't think it's because of his rhetoric. I think it's because of all the ships that have been going through the strait. I think they're controlling prices. I think that's exactly what they're doing. And I'm really curious if Iran understands what's happening, that they're kind of being used in order to create this pressure for America to take over LNG. I know not a lot of people believe what I'm saying, but everything points to it. Right. So gas got through 30 ships got through in one day. That's a good deal. It's not what it used to be, of course, but still doesn't mean the world's going to suffocate because they don't have enough energy. So the oil prices are reacting. I don't think it's because of this possible deal that the price drops down 5%. We should have a tracker of how many ships get through the strait every day. Do
There
you know
is
what
a
I mean?
tracker, but do you mean like we should update everyone?
Oh, can you share it with me, or can you put it up in the nest so everyone can see?
It's called a tanker tracker. Is one of them. There's a few.
What is it? Tanker
I think it's
tracker?
like tanker tracker. I'll check it for you and
Yeah,
let you
there's
know.
an X account named that.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I've been like doing it by hand, looking for news sources. Makes it easy. Thanks.
Yeah, that's how I got the when I wrote the Substack. I don't know, it's a couple of weeks ago. There was about 250 that had gone through at that point. That's all I knew.
Yeah, and that's what drives the price down. More supply in the system.
Sorry, say that again.
That's what drives the price down. More supply in the system. This weekend, a lot of them got through. So,
Oh, you think
or
that
this
was the
week.
more overarching reason as opposed to anything else?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think a lot of people buy Trump's story that trade the markets anymore. Right. So
I don't know. This one seemed a lot more significant, as in getting towards a deal, and maybe people still think there may be a deal, right? Because it's not like a huge drop. It's enough that you think, okay, this is moving towards a deal, but not really a deal.
But so like,
5% is a lot for oil.
If he's moving towards a deal, then why is he tweeting out from his account? Adios with Iran getting blown up. That's a contradiction, isn't
Sorry,
it?
say that again.
If he's thinking that if this deal's sincere, well, why is he tweeting out like adios to Iranian, like blowing Iran up from his
Yeah,
social
I don't think
account?
the deal's gonna happen. By the way, but just on that one, the U.S. officials, this has been reported, told Iran that look, just ignore what he's posting. That's just for his American audience, essentially, to manipulate them. Like whatever we agree on the deal is the real deal. Let's go to the Forgiver. The Forgiver, thanks for joining us. Give us your thoughts.
Good afternoon from New York City. Just wanted to give my 2 cents in response to Manko and what Beatrix were talking about, if that's okay, Sule.
Yeah, of course.
So I think, look, just a quick timeline, right? Marco Rubio clearly stated we're in this war for Israel. He said it clearly, right? And then Bibi Netanyahu, we know for the last 40 years, every single president, regardless of their party, He's begged them to go to war with Iran. And now we have this zealous cabinet of neocon Christian Zionist psychos like Hegseth and Huckabee, who basically said, okay, fine, let's do it. And Trump, of course, and Kushner were dumb enough to actually fall for this outrageous and extremely stupid and very dangerous attack against Iran, because Iran is, we know, very patient and cunning, and a formidable enemy. And we don't respect our enemies. That's what the war on terror has taught me, observing what we've been doing. Just, we don't really respect the Muslim world. We don't really understand how much pride the Iranian people have. They've been very patient and, frankly, um, extremely effective. I mean, it has been an embarrassment watching them just decimate our supposed air superiority. Yes, we of course have some really great aircraft, incredible pilots, but at the end of the day, when they tried to do that little covert operation to rescue a person, the F-15 that went down, it failed. They couldn't get the uranium. These are special forces, the elite, the best of the best. They couldn't execute that mission. So they failed, because that is the bottom line. They wanted to get that uranium out. They wanted to show that they could shut down, the some parts of this nuclear program, because Israel's terrified of having anybody, check them in the region, deter them from continuing to be the biggest bully and biggest massacre genocider in the world. And so we failed. It's been an absolute and colossal disaster. And so I just don't understand at all how anybody who is objectively looking at the situation can say the US has the leverage here. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The US has no ability to tell Iran when to attack, whether or not to attack. They have 600 miles of coast. They have all of the levers. It's undeniable. And they have global opinion on their side. We've lost the legitimacy war politically, and now we've lost even militarily, which is so embarrassing. Yes, we crushed their civilian infrastructure. Iranians are very tough people. They're very resilient people, and they're very proud. They're like, we've been around here 5,000 years. It's not this little new country over here that's gonna wipe us out. So I think we really have to put this in the historical context that it belongs in. And we need to understand that this is the worst expression of like civilizational decline. I mean, I could ever think of. I mean, I thought Iraq was bad, Afghanistan was horrible, Libya was terrible. But this takes the cake. I mean, this is absolutely deplorable conduct by this clown and his zealots and sycophants. So I just don't understand, Manko. Like, you're a smart guy. I know you know this. I know you know that this is not how we don't win this way. You go in, you crush them, you take it. We didn't do that because we can't. And now we're stuck. That's all I have to say.
Cool.
Ditto.
Yeah, and I looked that up. Rubio never said that we went to war with Iran for Israel.
He
There was,
literally did say that.
Dude,
He
he
did say
definitely
that.
did.
He did. He did.
yeah,
100%
He
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 did.
said
didn't,
it.
he didn't,
No,
but go
Manko,
ahead, get the
Yes,
he
quote.
said
yes, he
Go ahead.
did. Yes, he did, man. Go.
Okay, I mean, you guys, is this like
he
a
said it
religious
on
belief?
audio.
Go
No,
ahead and
Manko, he said it
go
on
ahead and get the
audio.
quote.
Recorded.
Get the quote. Should be easy
You
to
live
Google it and look
in
it up.
an inverted world, Manko. This is not an inverted world. Get out of it.
Beatrix,
Yeah. So
Beatrix, maybe you can
what
find it
actually
for him and
happened
play it for him again.
is he
We have
made
to
a
play you all the we
yeah,
have to play
cool.
you all
So
the
I
clips,
actually
bro.
found the quote that was the basis for this
It's not a
claim,
quote.
and he
Watch the
doesn't say
press
it in the
conference,
quote.
bro. It's
He
when it
doesn't
first
say it in the
started,
quote,
Manko.
actually. But what happened was people took that quote and they ran with it. There was an Intercept headline that says Rubio admits
He
that
literally said
America
it
is
on
fighting
TV, on
Israel's
like live on
Incorrect.
war,
TV.
but that's
He
not
said it
what he
on.
actually
Incorrect.
said.
Incorrect. If you actually
Manko,
listen
Okay,
to
okay.
is
the
it
You want
press
to say
live on
conference,
TV?
incorrect? You want to say incorrect? Go get the quote because I
I
looked
don't
up
need
the
the quote.
quote
I
and it
listened to
doesn't
the
say
press
that.
conference, which you should do. You should pull it up.
You
Pull
know
up the
what?
press conference.
I am
He's taking
looking at the quote
questions.
right now. You
No,
made the
no, no.
claim.
Mango,
You
listen.
back up your claim. You said Rubio said
Mango,
that. You said Rubio said we went to war for Israel. If he said that,
mhm.
I asked multiple sources to
Oh,
find that
Grok.
quote, and they said it doesn't
But
exist.
Manko, you're a
No,
lawyer,
I
right? You're a
Googled it.
lawyer.
I
You're a
Mango,
asked
you're an
lawyer.
the
attorney.
Google
I am too.
AI,
I'm
and I also
shocked.
asked Grok.
Where are you
And you know
licensed,
what?
bro?
Grok is actually really good at something like this.
Is
Like if
there?
you claim that there's a quote, he'll find the quote. It'll find the quote.
I found
All
many
right.
mistakes with
But
Grok. I'm
Okay,
trying to
Manko,
Go
say.
ahead and get me the
Manko,
quote
do you know what
then.
it is, right?
If all the
Manko,
different
he,
AIs cannot find the quote, I don't think the quote exists. In fact, they did
Oh
find
wow,
Manko,
a quote.
Manko,
problematic. It's
They did
problematic,
find a
Mango.
Manko.
For
quote
several reasons,
that was
and in
used
court
as the
and in
basis
court of
for
law,
a
Mango,
false
Mango, in a
claim,
court of law, say
and
AI could
that
not
claim
locate this quote,
doesn't say.
therefore it does
Here's
not
the quote.
exist, Your Honor.
Do you want the
How would
quote?
you? You would
Do you
come
want the
out
quote?
losing.
Do you want the quote?
I watched the press conference
Yeah, sure.
15
Well, you have a
times.
bad
I
memory
got
then
people.
because he didn't say
I
that.
don't. I have an impeccable memory.
Yeah, what
You're
was
the
the date
only
of the press
person on
conference?
this. Thousands of people are on here. They're
What was
like,
the
even
date of
if
the
they
press
don't agree
conference?
or agree, they acknowledge it was one of the first press conferences, Mango. Everyone
Okay,
saw
so
it.
what day? You
It's
don't
like, so we
remember.
are going to war. And then
You
he
don't
said,
remember.
yes, our
So
ally
what happens
Israel.
is
That's what they said. Our ally Israel. They're like, yep, our ally Israel
our ally
seems
Israel
to. And
isn't
then
what you
he
claim the quote was.
fumbled and he caught himself. And then he tried to backtrack. But everybody heard it. Everybody
Everybody
heard it.
heard what?
And it was an embarrassment.
Saying
It was an
our ally
go watch.
Israel is something that people say every day. That's not something that's an
Our ally
embarrassment or
Israel wants
unusual
us
or
to
new.
go to war against Iran. And so we're going to war. And then he
No, he
tried
didn't.
to
That's never been
manipulate it.
said. Those
That's,
words were never
I can
spoken.
send
That's
it to you.
insane. Go ahead.
Okay,
No, what
just
you
as
can do
Grok doesn't tell
is
you,
you can look it up.
listen, Mango. Mango, you know very little about the Middle East, my friend, and
I
North Africa
actually
and the
know
war
a
on terror.
lot
You
more
know
than you
nothing.
because you
You
know what? I was able to fact check your claim and find out that it was BS.
no,
And you're
incorrect,
embarrassed.
incorrect. No, you're embarrassing, actually, and I'm very ashamed that you're part of the United States bar. You should be, I don't know
Well,
where you're
you probably
licensed, my
shouldn't
friend.
be part of the United States at all. Maybe you can
Listen.
get on the deportation list.
No, I was born here. I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. You know where
I
that
don't
is?
care
That's
where
where
you were
Navy base
born.
is. Oh, you're a clown. You're a clown. I'm more American than you are. Way more American than you'll ever
You're
be. Because
definitely
I've
not,
served
and
this
you're also a
country,
woman.
public
So
service. I've been in
minus
public
2 points.
service my whole life. And I care about the Constitution, unlike people like you who think we should tear
I
it
don't
up
think you know
because
anything
you
about the
think
Constitution. My level of
you
constitutional
see,
knowledge
look at
is
this
probably like
dummy.
more than
Look at this
100
dummy
times
because he's
yours.
just a sycophant. Look, dude, just because I schooled you, because I went
You didn't
through the
school me on
timeline,
anything. We're still
I
waiting.
did school
You
you.
made a
I
claim. Your
crushed you.
claim was false.
I
And I
crushed
said,
your
go ahead and get
face.
the source, back it
And
up.
it's
And you can't do
embarrassing. And
that.
I know you're cuffed, your girlfriend's calling
But
you,
her claim is
whatever.
not
But
false,
listen,
though,
homie.
Manko. That's the thing. You have
Then
everyone on this
find the
panel.
quote. Help her out,
No,
Joa.
you go find
Be
it because
Captain
But
everyone on the
Save-A-Ho.
Joey
panel is
doesn't,
saying
Joe's got his
it's
own ideas. He's good.
Guys, 1 second, 1 second. Manko, what is it that your AI told you? He said,
Grok said it.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny. You guys want to
What?
talk trash about AI, but you
No,
guys
but I'm
can't do
asking you
better.
a straight
You guys are getting
question. What
schooled
did
by
Grok
AI.
tell you?
Yeah, so
Okay, come on, Manko.
here's what it says. So I said there was this claim that was made about a quote about Marco Rubio claiming that the US went to war with Iran for Israel. I need you to look up and see if this is true, or see if it's not true, what quotes were used to claim that it's true. So it went and said, no, Marco Rubio never claimed that the US went to war for Israel. This is a misrepresentation of a specific quote from a March 2nd, 2026 press conference taken out of context by critics to push a US fighting Israel war
It wasn't out
narrative.
of context. We all watched it.
What
It was
Rubio
not out of
actually
context at
Wait,
said,
all.
Johnny, 1 second,
quote, do you want the
one
quote?
second. Manko, so did Grok tell you what he said?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this operation action needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones that no one could do anything about it. But this had to happen no matter what. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what. As a result,
Okay.
it says
So
outlets
actually,
like
so
the,
So
hold
Manko,
on,
wait,
who
wait,
based
wait.
on
writes
that,
those press?
So what
outlets
this
like
is
The
Who
actually
writes
Intercept
okay,
those?
one
ran
Who
second.
writes
headlines
those
such as
Forgive
Rubio
transcripts? Who writes those
admits that
transcripts?
America.
Okay, one second. Let's just 1 second. Forgive her. I am going to let you respond. But Manko, that last bit, right? Two things I want to say to you. Where he says we were aware of Israeli intentions, i.e., Israel was going to strike them, and what that would mean as a result for us, right, as in Americans, means that if Israel would have attacked, we would have had to get involved, so we preempted it. He did go to war for Israel, would be my interpretation. But anyway, number two, very quickly, that's not what he said in that press conference, right? So your little grok is lying. I'm going to play you the full
Oh,
clip of what he said in that press
you
conference,
found it.
right?
Oh, I
I've
found it
got
as
it right
well.
here.
Thank you, Beatrix. You're the
I found
best.
it as well. But go ahead, Beatrix. I
Yeah,
think I
I've had it for a
think I
while.
think
I've
mine's
listened to it
better.
twice
I think mine's better,
actually.
but you play yours.
And okay, it's got to be, hasn't it? Of course. How could yours not be better, Suleiman? Like
This is
seriously,
going
it
to be
has to be the
beautiful to
best.
listen to. This is not.
So what he says is that basically and I'm paraphrasing here, he says, if Israel would have attacked, we know what that would have meant for American servicemen, as in American troops, i.e., we would have been under fire. Why would America have been under fire if Israel would have attacked Iran?
Gulf
Why?
states,
That's
bases
the
in the Gulf
question.
states.
Right, let me play it. Okay.
Asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
So a couple of things really quickly. First thing he says, there are two reasons why we went in, and then he starts listing three. So the guy can't even frigging count, right?
No, Beatrix, that's
And his
not why
third
he
reason
said 2 and 3. The reason he said 2 is it's
that
the second question. And when he says the third is, I guess, the third question.
let me
I'm looking at the state gov transcript of the press conference right now.
Reasons why.
I think
okay.
you
Did
should
you get
listen
that,
to it.
Michael? Listen.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly...
Two reasons why now, and then he counted
The
frigging three. I
second
have the ability to
question
listen.
I've been asked, and then he says
Oh
the
my
Okay,
third
God.
let
is
me
the
ask you. Let
assessment.
me play it again. Manko, just listen, right? The second question I've been asked is why now? And there are two reasons, he says. Listen.
Second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood...
The third is the assessment that was made. Okay, so basically the last point he made, Manko, is we knew Israel's attack was coming and we knew what that would mean for us because Israel's attack was coming. That's what they were talking about. That's what the Forgiver, Johnny, Andrew, Jonah, that's what they were all saying,
In the
right?
quote that you just played, he didn't say the U.S. was going to war for Israel. He said the U.S. was going to war to minimize American casualties. So the U.S. was going to war for America.
Are you crazy? Are you
Are
absolutely
you
crazy?
serious? Are you serious right now?
Manko, come on, dude.
I mean,
Don't
are
play
Manko.
this
you guys,
dumb.
do you
Manko.
Do
understand
not
English?
play
Manko.
That's
this
literally
dumb,
what he said.
Manko, what he literally said is, we're going to war because Israel's about to strike. That's what he said. because of
Yeah,
Israel's
so
actions,
so
right? Do you
saying
agree with
there's
that?
two
Do you
different
agree with
things
that?
at
Hold
play
on,
here.
let's just set precedent. Do you agree we went to war, we struck because Israel was going to strike? Do you agree with that?
So there's two concepts here.
Can you answer?
Number one,
You agree or don't
It's a
have to.
yes
agree?
or
If you
no.
say
You
you
It's a
don't
don't,
have
yes
to
say
or
trap
no.
no.
me. So can I
It's a
explain
I'm
my
yes
not
or
trying
no.
to
analysis?
trap you.
Trap
Do you
I'm
you.
want
trying
me?
to
It
I'm
is.
trying to
Do
get
you
you
want me
down
to
on your
explain it or
position.
not?
I
We don't
just
need
I agree with
explaining.
part
We've
of
heard
it,
it.
but I need to explain the differentiation.
This is like 2 + 2 = 4, and you're trying to do
Listen,
trigonometry. Like, what the hell's going on
let's
here?
be very clear here. Israel
I
was
think
a
trigonometry is
but-for
Rubio,
cause.
pointless.
Do you know what a but-for cause is,
It's like
Joa?
asking a times question as someone's trying to add.
No, it's.
Solomon, I
I
told
get
you, dude.
interrupted constantly.
Literally, magatards will find their way
No,
out of
it's
a
not.
paper
See,
bag
this is the thing. You're
when
not asking me in good faith, because if you were asking
I
me in good
am
faith,
asking
you
No,
you
would
in
we
let
good
me
aren't.
faith.
answer.
So
Manko, I'm literally asking. This is my interpretation. Israel was about to strike, so we had to strike, or else we were going to face casualties. Do you agree with that?
Yes, obviously that's what he said.
Okay. So if Israel doesn't strike, we don't have to strike. We don't go to war. So hence, why did we start the war? Because Israel was going to strike. It is that simple.
So you're
Bingo.
conflating two completely different concepts, which is one is causation
Go ahead.
and the other is motivation. So causation is Israel was a but-for cause of the United States joining the war. But for Israel attacking Iran first, the United States would not have gone to war. However, the claim that was made was not that. It wasn't causal. The claim that was made was Rubio admitted that the US was going to war for Israel, meaning our motivation was for the benefit of the state of Israel. And that is not what he said.
The
That's
Okay, let me
mental
literally
give you
it.
an analogy.
gymnastics of the mega cult. This is mental gymnastics
Let me
by the
give one
mega
second, one
cult.
second. Let me give an analogy. Let me give one of my analogies, right? Um, Beatrix, why did you punch Jonah? Oh, I punched Jonah because I knew that Jonah was going to hit Suleiman. And if he hit Suleiman and then I jumped in, things would have been a lot worse. So I preempted it and I punched Jonah. Who did I do it for, Manko?
So in that
Who did I do it?
analogy, it would be that Suleiman was going to punch Jonah, and you knew that if Suleiman punched Jonah, Jonah was going to turn around and punch you.
We knew Israel was going to attack. And we knew then the repercussions on our troops would come. So we went and preempted it. That's exactly what he said at the end. Do you want me to play the last 10 seconds of it again?
No, I
Beatrix,
totally agree with this,
do you
and
know
I've
how
already
fights
explained
work?
it. It's causation versus motivation.
I don't know, John.
It's
I
not
tell you what,
really.
that was a
It's not
bloody
at
good
all
analogy.
causation. Sorry,
No,
this is crazy.
her example
You know
made
what? You know
no.
what?
Suleiman was going to punch Joah, so I punched Joah first, or else it would have got worse. What? I
No.
don't
So
get
listen,
it.
this is crazy. You know what?
Rubio
So if people
said
want to know
Iran was going to
why, if
attack
people want
U.S.
to know the
troops.
benefit of having Manco on the stage, this is it. Like you have to actually. So Manco is a smart. I would say he's one of the smartest MAGA people. So like, if Manco's coming across like this, just think about
Slipperiest.
I think he's one of the smartest MAGA people personally. And because Manco is coming across like this, just imagine the rest of MAGA. That should give you confidence in your own position. Like if someone like him, who is a very good debater, someone who is quite smart, is so looking so bad in this conversation because it's just devoid of any reality whatsoever, it just demonstrates how weak their argument is. And so this is part of the reason why it's important to lay this information out, because now someone like Manco would have been in a probably an echo chamber. They'd all be saying their own thing, but now he's here. You've seen how weak their argument is, how weak their position is. And obviously, what's the name? The forgiveness went up to basically call him out, but this was a good point because it's just shocking. Like it's just so devout of reality is unbelievable. If it's just basic logic. It's like what
Let me
it's
make
like
a
you want
concession.
it's like you want him to say
Suleiman,
we Manko, this is what you want. It's just so crazy. You want him to say we went to war for Israel. But what if you listen to that statement, it quite clearly lays out if Israel had not attacked Iran, the United States of America wouldn't have got involved. The reason the United States of America got involved is because Israel attacked, and it's to protect Israel, because in reality, the Israel is unable to protect itself. We know in the previous war, what American bases hit? No, they weren't. Even though America defended Israel, even though they shouldn't have been even then, because America was part of the war, but they weren't offensively part of the war. That being said, their bases in the Middle East were not obliterated, but they should have been. And so this whole notion is ridiculous. What actually the situation is this: if Israel had attacked Iran without the United States of America, all of the arsenal of Iran would have solely been directed towards Israel, and Israel would have ceased to exist. But because the United States of America was involved, that's why the bases were hit, and that's why he said, "Look, because Israel struck, that's why we had to do it." It's just crazy that you're arguing else on a different point.
No, so I agree with you. If the statement was made, America attacked Iran because it was forced to do so, or our hand was forced by Israel, that's
He
true.
wouldn't
That's
say that,
exactly what
Manko. Are you
Rubio
this
is
devout in
saying.
reality, bro? He wouldn't use them words, would he? Or he would be removed from office
No,
by
I'm saying
Israel.
that's the substance of what
But what
Rubio
he
was
said,
saying.
Manco, was worse than that. What he said was worse than that because he's not saying our hand was forced or we were forced or whatever. He's saying we did it because we wanted to back up Israel. Manco, the
Wait, he
first
didn't say
concession
back
you
up
should make
Israel.
is
He said back up
Grok
our
lied to
troops.
you. Manco, Grok lied to you. Grok gave you an incorrect
No, he
quote. You
didn't.
need
The
to accept
Grok
that.
quote,
Correct.
first of
It
all, the
did.
Grok quote is exactly correct because I can highlight the Grok quote and copy paste it and control F on the
It was
state
selective. It was
gov
selective. It didn't give you the full
press
quote. It
release
didn't give
and
you the
it
full
lines
quote. It
up.
lied to you, Manco. It lied
First
to
of
you.
all, the state.gov press
Can I
release
ask you a
of
serious
his
question,
remark
Manco?
is like 10 pages. So I'm not going to read
Manco,
the whole 10 pages.
Manco, his assessment, the problem with his assessment and what he said, and why you know it's a lie, that we did not go there to protect our troops, that's not why we did a preemptive strike, is because Israel has struck Iran before, not that long ago, for 12 days. Not a single base in the GCC was hit. So there was zero precedent that if Israel attacked Iran, that they were going to hurt American troops. So
$100%.
you buying this bullshit is what drives
I
me
didn't say I was
absolutely
buying it.
insane.
That's
You
completely irrelevant to the discussion.
you
Maybe
did.
we don't
You're
know if
making an
what Rubio
argument.
said was true or not, but that's what he said.
We do know it's true because there was actually an attack from Iran before, from Israel before, and no
Just
U.S. base was
because
hit.
in the 12-day war, just because Iran didn't attack the United States in the 12-day war doesn't mean in a subsequent war in 2026 that Iran wouldn't attack the United States. I don't know that. You don't know that. Rubio has classified intelligence. He's in a position to know it better
Yeah,
than we do.
they say there's a nuclear weapon too, while the entire intelligence says there's not. So what is
Yep.
it? Who do you believe?
Well,
You
he didn't say
apparently
there
like
was
to
a
believe.
nuclear weapon. He said they're going to try to get one in the future.
They've been saying that for the last 40 years, Manco, right?
Yeah,
No, they
Every
haven't. Not for
freaking
40
yes,
years.
they have. That okay, you can check that. You can fact check that if you'd like.
Okay, so it's
Bibi
2026.
Netanyahu, just
It's
let me speak, please.
2026. So
Please,
in
please let me
1986,
speak.
they were saying that
I
Iran
just
was
really
trying
need
to
to
get nuked.
clarify the facts, the record
1986.
here. We want to make a
You can
clean
minus
record,
40
okay?
since
years from
I don't know if you
19 since
2026,
litigate,
right?
but
1992, Manco, since 92 for
we've
sure.
been
I'm actually thinking
asked.
86 it did happen,
Yeah,
but
and under
1992 for
Reagan.
sure.
Yep.
They said that they
Reagan.
were getting nukes.
He
Iran was
asked
pretty
Reagan.
busy in
The
the 80s. I don't think they were trying to get
Netanyahu
nukes in the
asked
80s.
Reagan. He asked George Bush Sr. He asked George. He asked Clinton. He
Clintons,
asked
yeah.
George Bush Jr. He asked Obama. He asked Biden. He asked the first Trump administration. They all said no. This was the first time that this stupid administration was willing to actually go to war. So they've been having nukes now, like 2 days from having nukes, for a long time. So it's really hard to believe that nonsense. And after 30 years, and you say you've studied the war on terror, and I'm thrilled to hear that. 30 years of being lied to about so-called intelligence and these smoking just we have a smoking gun. We have this intelligence that's going to show us that there's if we don't move right now, oh Tora Bora, blah, 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 all this nonsense intelligence that's BS that has nothing to do with the truth in order to do something where there's an alternative and an ulterior motive, I should say. And here we're very happy that Rubio there's no ulterior motive. We know exactly why. And I give them credit for at least being honest. But this has nothing to do with American interests or American troops. We might have some interests that are benefiting, but the overall interests of the United States are not served by this type of insanity. And you said you studied the war on terror. 30 years. Has it been a success? I hope you agree
Okay.
that it hasn't been.
Okay, so when Iran's nuclear program got exposed at all only happened in 2002 when they were nearing completion of 2 nuclear sites.
That's according
And
to
that
Grok.
and
Grok
that's
is not very
and
deep.
no, it's
I
not.
can
You
send
don't
you
know what.
actual
Here's the
sources.
thing,
Dude,
it's not
I can
according to
send you
Grok.
actual sources that are in
Not according to
Farsi
Grok.
and in Arabic where you can
No,
actually like
you don't
learn
actually have that.
actual
None of
stuff.
that's true.
I
The
actually
history
do. I
on
actually
Iran's
do. I
nuclear
speak
program
and
is
read
actually
those
pretty
languages.
well known.
So I can actually read the press in those languages. And so I can send you information about that. And
You
they're
don't
in
need to
history
send it to me. You
books.
can look it up right now. I was able to
I don't
look
need
it
to
up
look it
that
up
fast.
in Grok or AI or any of these stupid things. There's
It's
some
not
things
even
that are
Grok.
better
It's actually just
studied
a
through history
Wikipedia
books.
article on
Okay. And it's
Iran's
important to
nuclear
really get the
program,
record
which
straight.
has a
Everybody
timeline.
knows that Iran has been an imminent threat to the United States for the last, oh my gosh,
No,
20 years,
that's
30
not.
years. We're
Oh,
still
did
here
we
though. It's
change
a miracle.
40 down
It's
to
a
20?
miracle,
Great.
guys. We're still here. They haven't blown us up, thank God. Iraq, well, that was a close call. They had those big WMDs. What are you talking about, dude? You know this is all BS. You know this. You're too smart
It's
to
not
let them
BS.
lie to you.
Iran had
It is
60.
BS, dude.
Iran
They're
still
not
has
going to attack us,
60%
dude.
enriched
Are you
uranium.
serious?
Why do
You
they
think
have
Iran is going to
60%
attack
enriched
America?
uranium?
Do you think they're stupid? Do you think,
Here,
like,
let's do this.
seriously?
Since we're
Mango,
talking
Mango,
over each other
Mango, let me ask
constantly,
you this.
why
Do
don't
you
you
think
just
the
make a
Iranian
point?
regime, no,
Like
no, no,
instead of just
genuinely,
spurging out as
genuinely,
a woman and being
do,
emotional, hold on, just
what?
make a point
I'm
and
being
I'll be
emotional.
quiet.
Dude, you
And
just
then
had to like
after you make
log
your
off 4
point,
times
I'll
because your
respond.
girlfriend was calling you and she like needed you to like, I don't know, um
Yeah,
Oh
I
God.
do
talking to
have
me
a
about being a
relationship,
woman because I
unlike
schooled your
you,
ass
so I
and
do
and like
sometimes have to
like
talk to my
whooped you.
girlfriend. I can't drop everything for a space all
Oh,
of the
okay.
time.
Okay. Yeah, no, you have to
Maybe if
drop
you get a
everything for her,
boyfriend, you'll
clearly.
have that experience.
Drop everything. We're not gonna get into that. Anyway, dude.
Read a comment out from YouTube, which I thought was quite funny. Um, a comment about you, obviously, Banco. Cook's Cuts. I thought it was something else there. Cook's Cuts 9898 says, if Mangoes is a lawyer, I think we all have a chance. To think your
You
legal skills
do.
were excellent. They're saying that you did a perfect job being a lawyer for the American government, right? That's
If
what they
they're
are saying.
listening, just send the checks.
Yeah, send the checks. Exactly.
Because Elon's
I think
not.
I think this Romy, right? I think Romy actually supports you. I think Romy's a monarchist, actually.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm Iranian as well. The forgiveness, she said she's Iranian as well. I have an No, I'm not accent because Iranian.
I'm
I
from
speak
Iraq.
Farsi. No, I'm not Iranian. I
You speak
speak
Farsi. Okay,
Farsi.
anyway.
I'm not
She
Iranian. Nope.
she okay, okay. Thank God. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
thank
want
God
to
is
tell you
right.
something. You said that Iranians are stubborn. No, Iranian want freedom. That's please make sure that government Islamic Republic make a division between people and the government. In just 2 days, 40 plus thousand people
Okay,
they
here
been
we go. Here
massacred
we
in
go with the
Iran.
massive
Okay.
lies. Okay, here we go with
Yes.
the massive lies.
Why you don't let people talk? That's your
Romy, I'm going to
argument.
let you
That's
speak.
your argument. You were
One
just
second. Romy, I'm going to let you speak. You're based in America. I think you got your freedom. I want you to tell me how many thousands of people were killed, and I want you to
I
tell me
think it was
about your
6 million.
cousin in Iran.
understand what was said.
Hold that thought, Suleiman. Can you just fix YouTube, please? There's no sound on it. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew. You spoke to.
Yes, I spoke to two senior retired military officers. One was Army, another was a retired naval officer, retired senior. And I said, is it just me? And it's like, no, this is exactly what we heard. We are in for some very stormy weather. We are in the shoals, shallow water, unnavigable water, and this is going to be ugly. And I'm so glad that the Forgiven stood up. She came up, she laid it out, and I would, if she's at liberty to discuss her professional life, I'm not at liberty to discuss it. But it took her courage, her intellect, and her knowledge to take Mango and to lay him out. I mean, thank you, the Forgiven, man. I'm so glad you did that.
I mean, hold on. Let's talk about laying people out. I have a girlfriend.
Not literally. You see, that's the problem, Mango. You take this literally. I meant that in a figurative sense.
You know, he believes in an original, a dead constitution. It's okay.
Okay, I'm going to let the elephant stomp it out. I'm going to go sit and listen. But man, that was some
I
awesome stuff.
appreciate it. I appreciate it, Andrew. I
Can
appreciate
I,
it. It means a
Forgiven?
lot. Thanks for
Can
your.
I say what your
Yeah,
profession is?
sure. If you want to.
Okay,
No worries.
you had a professional, high profile lawyer going at Mango.
Yeah, I've represented some folks down in Gitmo. I've done a lot of work, civil human rights work. So I worked at the ACLU and a bunch of other places. So I've been very lucky. So that's how I worked within the context of the war on terror. But no hard feelings. We just have disagreements, Mango, and you know, I really admire your dedication to your girlfriend. Okay.
The ACL Jew.
Whoa!
Ooh, but they're the best kind of Jews, you know, because they're anti-Zio Jews.
Yeah.
Don't know about that one. So let's get in Silver Sailor into the conversation.
Thank you, Suleiman, Beatrix. Salute to our veterans, Andrew, anybody else listening. On this Memorial Day, I want to refresh our memories about the recycled lie that is being used today. Here we go. The perceived nuclear threat from Saddam Hussein. Condoleezza Rice stated, "The problem here is that there will always be some uncertainty about how quickly Saddam can acquire nuclear weapons, but we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud." That is for General Manco of Battlefield 4. Happy Memorial Day. Salute to our veterans. Remember the fallen. Hi, Mom. Silver Sailor out.
Thanks, Silver Sailor. Let's go to Shiva. Shiva, jump in.
Thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I heard there was a monarchist Iranian here in the space. As someone who was born, raised in Iran, then moved to America, I just wanted to say a couple of things, especially about what's going on right now. First of all, those people that always come here and talk about their monarch, they have some type of hatred. They have no sense of nationality, of what really went on in the past. Because if you look in the past, the Shah, he did not improve the nation. He took the money all for himself, and we know the Shah was installed after Mossadegh wanted to nationalize the oil, basically give every Iranian like some type of stock over the oil that they were selling. And I think the war will continue. It's just a matter of timing of the munitions and the economy needing to support it. So I think it's just going to be a back and forth. It's not going to be as kinetic, but um, it will definitely resume. That's my thoughts. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for that. For giving us what's your thoughts about this law that you were talking about in terms of Trump being able to not be charged in the future? The forgiver, are you there?
Yeah, I was just sorry, I was just trying to send something about anti-BDS laws at the state level and how the ACLU is leading the fight with Paralegal. Rashid Khalidi's daughter is the head of Paralegal. So anyway, but yeah, regarding the law, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know. The Supreme Court is an absolute disaster. I know Manko loves those kinds of lawyers.
No, but just
The kinds.
explain it to the audience what you're talking about first, and then go ahead.
Are you talking about the law where he's basically never going to be audited? His taxes and his corporations are never going to be audited in
Is
perpetuity,
that in the
and his
future or is it
family's.
today?
It's
Oh,
forever.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
forever. He's like he gets immunity forever, and like none of his
I thought it
finances
was
are,
today.
at
I'm sure
least.
it's the future.
Oh, like what you mean while he's in?
I
While
thought
you
it
mean
was
while he's
up.
in office?
No, I thought it was up until the date of the judgment, not like in the future forever.
Oh, I thought he was trying to get immunity for the
No, I'm
future
asking.
because he
I'm
didn't
asking
want.
because I'm not. That's what I thought, but I may be wrong because I didn't look into it. That's what I'm asking, just for
I,
clarification.
I mean, it's I don't know. It's very murky. I don't. I think it's an open question. It's not. It's never really been tested. Mango. I don't know if you're more familiar with it. Um. But I mean, it's basically uncharted territory. So it'll basically make its way through the courts. I'm sure
Oh,
there'll be
okay. I just
litigation.
looked it up. It wasn't, it was the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche,
And yeah,
signed an order saying that the government is forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or
yeah,
examining taxes from Trump, his
yeah,
sons, and the Trump
family.
organization. But the thing is
Right.
that any future
Yeah.
person who works there can just reverse that.
Right, exactly, because it's an executive. That's right, because it's only within the executive branch. It's not through Congress. It wasn't codified. But yeah, it's for forever. It wasn't just today, Sule. So he's. I mean, it's a very broad. Yeah, and I love that he did it through Blanche, right? Like through the DOJ, as though the attorney general doesn't actually work for the president. Wasn't he his former lawyer? Does anybody know? I think he was. But
You mean Trump's personal lawyer?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
Blanche
I
was
think
his
he
former
may
attorney.
have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now he's his attorney general after he booted Pam Bondi, who was awful. But yeah, I mean the rule of law is really crumbling here in the United States. The Supreme Court is not great. They've destroyed some of our core victories that have made us a better country. We are based, obviously, we're very similar to Israel, in the sense that we obviously are based on murder, mass slaughter of Native people, but we at least have had some points in our history where we've tried to become better, become that better country, that more perfect union, and a lot of that is getting reversed, and it's going to be a lot of work.
The thing that concerns me, if you could, I know, clarify this more on that same thread, is it seems to me that our Justice Department, Supreme Court, working its way all the way down to the lower courts, it seems to me the court is now changed into almost a legislative function. If you could, I mean, I see this with this perpetuity of Trump saying that he's exempt. This again sounds like emperor. And before, it's unthinkable why the Supreme Court wouldn't be would be like putting a complete stop. I don't see any checks and balances anymore in our system. It's all just kind of melding in, which goes back to this massive ballroom. The executive branch, going back from I'm sorry, it really started from Andrew Jackson, has just exploded in not only one of three branches, but becoming more and more large, bigger and bigger, with larger and broader reach. And I see this emperor, the Caesar simplex. Excuse me, a Caesar
Mhm.
complex.
No, that's very very important. And I'd love Mango and anybody else's opinion on this, but one of the main policy goals, and this is not just a policy goal; it's really a structural goal that this administration has tried to really nail down and create so that it stays for at least a generation or more, is the concept of the unitary president theory. right? The unitary executive. In other words, that there is this unitary president, this president, the executive branch is basically a king, and that Congress can't really check him. I mean, they can, but they're so impotent and useless in many ways that they don't. But even when they try to, right, with this war powers say stuff, right, they just always fall short because the commander in chief is at the height of his authority when there's a war. The problem with the global war on terror, right, is that it's forever. It's a war that is global and it's forever. In geography, it has no limits, and in terms of time, it has no limits. There's no sunset clause, right, in the congressional statutes. It's just go after Al Qaeda anywhere, and affiliates at any time forever. And so when you have that, you're giving a massive amount of authority to the executive, and you're consolidating power at the executive level in ways that, you know, we're not supposed to have because it's supposed to be temporary, right? And again, I'd love to hear Manko and other people's opinions on this. This is a policy question, really. But generally, it's supposed to be a temporary thing, right? When we're at war, there's a beginning and there's an end, and then when the war ends, that's it. It goes back to normal, and there's checks and balances. But there's no more checks and balances because these forever wars are forever and they continue. And the source of the authority is these very broad statutes, these laws that were passed by Congress right after 9/11, and they include a lot of our surveillance laws, which, I love Simon, but he's always like, the surveillance state. I'm like, we already have a surveillance state, man. Like, read the Snowden files. Like, they already, check our phones and do whatever they want at the ports of entry. And I mean, look what they're doing, in the interior even. So there's just a massive amount of authority that's consolidated because we are in this perpetual state of war. And so I don't know how that's going to end, um, uh, because it seems to be just escalating. And that's why I was confused, because I know a lot of conservatives and MAGA people who are just fed up with the forever wars. And that's part of why they're upset with Trump, because they said, we don't want to do this anymore. And I guess there are some others you know, who are okay with continuing the forever wars. But at the end of the day, they're disastrous for not only the people, which is obviously the fundamental most important thing that we care about, like those little girls and the hundreds of thousands of injured, and our own men and women who are injured and who are passed away, and of course, the billions that have been squandered. And it's also very corrosive for our institutions because again, it consolidates executive authority. Now you can just go and decapitate a president, just go into Venezuela under war and terror authority. Are you kidding me? Like, Trendalagua is a terrorist state. Like, no, it's not. Like, has no relationship to Islamist terror. Um, and but they use that authority because it's so broad and Congress is so spineless. And again, because of the way the Constitution is set up, it gives extraordinary power to the president as commander in chief during times of war. And so because that was never sunsetted, it's just been a disaster. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear from others. Sorry, I'm talking way too much.
No, you nailed it. I'll just leave it there. You nailed it.
Can I jump in? Yeah, so going back to the whole Iran having a nuke, here's just a sampling of Ben Shapiro sending out 5 tweets in a row on September 27th, 2012. Obama's probable response to Bibi's speech. That doesn't look like a bomb. It looks like an oddly proportional tennis racket. Negotiations. Do you remember the Iranian bomb and the red line? Then Bibi got this point across, and you leftist morons can go pound sand. Bibi to Obama. Maybe you didn't understand. This is a bomb. This is a red line. Stop appeasing. Asshat. You know why Bibi used a bomb diagram, so Obama has no excuse to misunderstand him. Final one. Bibi shows Obama how close Iran is to the bomb with a cartoon of a bomb. If Obama insists on acting ignoramus, Bibi will treat him so. So this was Shapiro and the Israeli Zionist lobby trying to drag Obama into a war with Iran, and Obama did not take that bait. Obviously, Obama is not a saint in any way, shape, or form. He toppled Libya and Syria and was responsible for a horrific number of deaths. So, I mean, so we're not putting Obama on any pedestal whatsoever, But I mean, but the point is to show that that's Ben Shapiro in 2012, and he has not changed a lick. If anything, he's gotten worse. He went from pushing fake nuclear propaganda to saying over the summer there's no evidence that there were any underage girls on Epstein Island. I kid you not, he said that this summer, in summer of 2025. So this is what we're dealing with. These people will keep saying the same thing. I bet if you went back to Mark Levin's radio show in 2012, you'd find the same things of him saying that. You could probably find Rush Limbaugh or someone talking about Iran having a nuke in the 1990s if you go way back. I mean, it's just never ends. It's completely ridiculous, and you have MAGA saying, "Oh, but this time it's real, unlike Iraq, because Iran actually has uranium and Iraq didn't. So this time it's a real nuclear threat." Just think about how smart Iranian scientists are. They're able to build advanced missiles, advanced drones. If frickin' Pakistan could build a nuke, no disrespect to Pakistan, if India could, you don't think with a long time ago, and they don't have nearly the missile or drone technology that Iran does, you don't think Iran could have built a nuke in the last 20 years? They most certainly could have. I think they didn't want to, because then they just would have basically become isolated from the rest of the world like North Korea, versus I think they were waiting for this moment to be attacked, knowing that eventually there'd be a US president dumb enough to do this, and knowing then they could use the Strait of Hormuz as leverage, as a defensive measure, to then eventually be able to get concessions, which is what they're doing. They looked at the North Korea model and is like, okay, sure, North Korea is immune from being attacked, but they're stuck under sanctions and don't really have a way out of it. Like, unless North Korea starts threatening Japanese and South Korean shipping or something with their missiles, I mean, they're not going to get their sanctions lifted.
Yeah, Andy, do you know what? Right. So what you're talking about, and I think the forgiver touched on as well, when you guys talk about like Iraq and stuff, right? The more I read up on Iraq, the more I think like, how can we fall for this again? So like the Brits on the YouTube chat will be familiar with Dr. David Kelly. He was British. He was Britain's foremost weapons inspector, right? He spent years inspecting the Iraqi facilities. He was probably in his late 60s or something. Such a gentleman, such an honest character. He even earned a Nobel Peace Prize nomination. And at that time, it counted for something, right? It's actually probably, not exactly a badge of honor these days because they've sullied it. But he knew more about Saddam Hussein's arsenal than anybody else. He was a United Nations weapons inspector. And in 2002, Tony Blair, who was the prime minister at the time, his government published a dossier which said that Iraq had WMDs and they could deploy chemical and biological weapons within 45 minutes, right? That's the dossier that we went to war on the back of. 45 minutes. Do you know where that 45-minute claim came from? It came from a young student had written a fallacy piece, and the government picked it up and thought, that's a good claim. We'll put that in our dossier to convince the British people. This all came out later. It was plagiarized from a student's essay. And Dr. David Kelly knew that the dossier was rubbish. So what he did, because he had an obligation, he felt, to mankind, to humankind, to innocent lives in Iraq, but also he was a patriot. And he had an obligation to Britain and to our forces, right? He didn't want to put our brave forces on the line for a fake war. So he spoke to a BBC journalist in confidence, right? And what the BBC journalist did was published it, didn't publish his name, and said, oh, basically, we've got somebody on record saying the 45-minute claim is rubbish. So then the government, BBC was completely the wrong organization for him to go to. But anyway, the government lent him the BBC, and the journalist, the rat, gave Dr. David Kelly's name up and just ratted him out straight away. So what our government did was they got Dr. David Kelly in a Commons committee. It's like somebody having to go to Congress and testifying, right? And they sat him in the middle And this was like an awarded, decorated UN weapons inspector. They sat around him in like almost in a circle, fired questions at him, and televised the whole thing to humiliate him to the max, right? When the BBC told the Ministry of Defence here, they allowed his name to leak to the press as the BBC source. They hauled him before this parliamentary committee. They stripped him apart. They got his employer to strip him apart in front of the media. And then they left him to a media frenzy completely, right? And he had to give evidence. And in that evidence, he says, and I'll play you a little clip of it actually. He says that, I just feel that as a result of this, I'm probably going to get found dead in the woods. 2 days after giving evidence, he was found dead in the woods near his Oxfordshire home, right? They didn't have an inquest or anything. And they said it was suicide. But a few things came up. So where he was found dead in the woods, early hours of the morning, where they said it was a suicide, his right wrist was slit, right? But they found out that actually he was right-handed. So if he slit his right wrist with his left hand, he couldn't have done it with such precision. This whole kind of conglomerate of doctors came together, like really respected doctors, and examined this. They said there's not enough blood. The cut wasn't deep enough. He couldn't have done such a precision cut if he wasn't actually right-handed to his right hand himself. His mobile and bottle of water that was found next to him had no fingerprints. He didn't have gloves on. So if he didn't have gloves on, his bottle of water and his mobile should have at least had his own fingerprints. It had no fingerprints. And there were all these other things. So they pushed and pushed and pushed and said, we want an inquest. So then Tony Blair had no option because they just wouldn't let it go. And he asked his buddy, Lord Hutton, to do a private inquiry. Actually, first a private inquiry was done and Lord Hutton said, oh, it was suicide. And then the inquest was opened and suspended and never resumed. But then these medical figures and 8 senior legal figures, including a coroner, wrote to newspapers in the UK saying the verdict was unsafe. And they argued that, the Kelly's wrist, the wound wouldn't have happened. It didn't even sever an ulnar artery. It wouldn't have caused sufficient blood loss to a healthy person. There were no fingerprints, etc., etc. On the knife, it was actually not a blade. It was a knife. There was no fingerprints, 0 fingerprints on the knife found there. So then after a lot of pressure in 2011, our Attorney General, Dominic Grieve at the time, was requesting all calls for a new inquest. And he said the Hutton inquiry was tantamount to an inquest and that further investigation would be dismissed by judges with irritation. And then this man came forward and challenged the government's justification for a war that killed hundreds of thousands of people, 1 million in Iraq alone. And he was publicly destroyed. And he also died in mysterious circumstances, never got a proper inquest. Eventually, there was an inquiry. And do you know what they did with the results of the inquiry? They buried them by law. I think it's for 65 or 75 years. We can't find out what happened. We're all going to be dead by then anyway. People who know about it are going to be dead, right? A lot of people who actually lived through it at that time are probably dead already. So those are buried legally by law. They didn't tell any of us. And do you know what happened to Tony Blair? He was awarded the role of Middle East Peace Envoy the following year. The Middle East Peace Envoy the following year. So let me play you this clip. It's from Sky News, and it's right after Dr. David Kelly's body's been found, I think. And that's why
his appearance before the Foreign Affairs Select Committee in July 2003, the suspicion was Weapons Inspector Dr. David Kelly was the source revealing government intelligence on Iraq had been sexed up. I reckon you're chaff. You've been thrown up to divert our probing. You've ever felt like a fall guy? I mean, you've been set up, haven't you? A man under pressure. He'd once said, I will probably be found dead in the woods. Within days of this appearance at the committee, that's exactly what happened. Coincidentally or otherwise, Dr. Kelly had predicted his own death. Found in woodland close to his home, he'd apparently committed suicide. But for some, things didn't quite add up. For example, how did he cut his left wrist when friends say he had a damaged right arm? How did he take 29 tablets when he had an aversion to swallowing pills? And why were there no fingerprints on the knife that he used?
The principal cause of death was bleeding from incised wounds to the left wrist, which Dr. Kelly inflicted on himself with the knife found beside his body.
I'll put it there because then the coroner goes on and stuff. But the other thing was, which I forgot to tell you, after he was buried, somebody or some organization went in, exhumed his body, and his body disappeared. Right? And his wife and daughters have never spoken about it. And the media went to the church and said, where did his body go? And nobody can say where his body went. And everyone's too scared to talk about where that body went. It was just dug up and disappeared. And that's just one story from the Iraq war that's happened in this country. There's several more. That's how bad it is. So yeah, we've
Yeah,
been
I
there,
didn't know that story, but that's
done that.
obviously like that's just absolutely nuts. I mean, obviously, that was before my time. I was like super young then. I was like 1 years old, but yeah, that's just it's absolutely insane. And they keep using quote unquote suicide as a way to cover things up, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein and his fake suicide or assassinations that they pin on someone else with a patsy like Charlie Kirk. That's their MO. It's that they're gonna do that time and time again. And you even had Thomas Massey post like during the Epstein files release. He said, "I'm perfectly healthy. I'm not suicidal." Basically, that was Thomas Massey letting everyone know, like, hey, if something somehow happened to him, then like, yeah, this is because people were upset about Epstein, and that's why he would have if he disappeared. And thank God he didn't disappear, and like Epstein um, this, or the scientists. But yeah, that's just what they do, and it's really unfortunate. And it's like, who are they gonna make disappear next? Like is really concerning.
But these were good guys, right? So there was a member of parliament called Robin Cook who served under Tony Blair. And he resigned, I think, on the Friday. And he said he couldn't support the war on Iraq. He was going to come back into Parliament the following week and make a statement on the floor of Parliament to say why he couldn't support the war on Iraq. Do you know what happened on the weekend? His body was found at the bottom of a mountain. They said he'd been hiking and he'd fallen. Literally. I mean, there's so many of these cases in the UK I can tell you about. He was the foreign secretary, so our foreign minister, and a Labour MP. He resigned. He made a historic speech to the House of Commons, and he said he was going to come back the following week and give more details. And then he was found dead. Loads of cases in the UK over the Iraq war. So I've no, like, you know, like, that's a nice message. I've no doubt that there's going to be a lot of pressure on people. I was trying to bring up, I don't know, she's dropped. Let's go to Shiva.
Yeah, so I just wanted to agree with the forgiver what they were saying earlier, and wanted to add on that basically all America does is fake a story and justify it with that they want to invade with justice, and it's just so many psyops we've seen through them, and it only benefits the military industrial transnationalists, and it's only going to get worse with the ballroom being built. It's a data center, and it's basically so many GPUs running training models, running inference, and it's these models. It could be connected to the military, such that with Palantir too, of course, um, because Palantir right now in Russia and Ukraine, they're collecting so many data and training their own models. So I think what's going to happen is that the ballroom at the White House will have these models running, and the president can just write a prompt, and with so many model context providers giving data to these LLMs are basically a full room of war cabinets who can analyze and what to do if the data is all connected. So I think it's only going to get worse. Love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Joe,
Sorry, go ahead, Beatrix.
with us. What do you think of that? Oh, he's not there. I wanted to ask him because he does LLMs. We'll wait till he comes back. But sorry to look back to you.
Who does LLMs?
She was asking about, he thinks the ballroom is a data center, And with AI and LLMs and everything, it's just things are going to get worse, he's saying, and he wants people's thoughts on it. So I was going to ask Jonah.
Joe is here.
What are you going to ask me?
Oh, so I like the way he answers when you say Joe's
No,
here. When I
I've
speak, he
been
just.
thinking about something really strange. I don't know why. My head was just, you speak and I kind of zone off and I start thinking about other things.
Welcome to
And I
the
started
club,
thinking,
Joe. Welcome to the club.
I started thinking of something really weird, Suleiman. I was like, imagine if all the Palestinians are actually just the diaspora of people who had Jewish fathers but not Jewish mothers, so they were kicked out of Judaism. Um, and then
Not
I'm
everything
like,
revolves around your favorite people, Joe.
no, I'm just saying, like, how is it? Because they say ethnicity, um, you can only be ethnically Jewish if your mother's Jewish, but that's not how it works, right? So I'm like, I wonder if how many, like, what happens to the people who had a Jewish father but not a Jewish mother? Like, what do they become?
Read Shlomo Sand's the book. It is astounding. Shlomo Sand, the Jewish, the history of the. Hold on, I'll get the title of the Jew. It's in my library. I read it about a year ago. The Jewish myth or something. He goes in it. He's an historian. Shlomo Sand. He's an historian there in Israel, and he's a brilliant anthropologist. He answers that question, Joe. It's
Yeah, okay.
astounding. Yeah, it's
Well,
basically they have no idea. It's a game, the way
yeah,
they play that.
yeah. I was just, I thought that was just a much more interesting than what Beatrix was talking about. But go ahead, Beatrix. What did you want to ask?
Oh my God,
Oh,
I'm booting. That's it. He's gone. Shiva asked a question, and I thought you might want to answer it, Jonah. Shiva, would
Sure,
you
sure.
like to ask?
Yeah, I'll ask it again. So I'm studying computer science, and I'm pretty much in machine learning AI, and I'm also into hardware, so like things that train and run inference for models, and with LLMs and agents, and the president, the chief of commander, essentially having massive amount of GPUs at his disposal in physical location like White House, with Palantir also just uh, training, collecting data from their battles at Russia and Ukraine. I believe things are just going to get worse, and it's going to be automated to a point where the president can just write prompts, and the LLM running agent mode can plan and talk to so many different model context providers that is connected to the military, that can give exact data of how they could efficiently plan this, whatever the prompt is, and execute that, give commands to military personnel, and start like using AI into this war stuff.
Ye- Yeah, I mean, that is how, I mean, yeah, I don't know how much you followed up, but my whole theory, and I know I'm going to get pushback, but please bear with me. I believe Israel is a forwarding base and we test weapons there, right? There has been many American weapons that were tested in by Israel for the first time, not by America, right? So it's a way for America to get away with actually testing things without actually getting approval that they wouldn't get approval for. So the first time the AI targeting protocol from um, Palantir was enacted was in Gaza, right? And what they found was that 70% of the people they arrested that AI had identified as Hamas was not Hamas. Okay. Then we used it again in Iran. Again, a school was bombed due to very old data, they say. And I actually believe it was because it was old data. And because these models aren't trained, and because they're not trained, you're going to have things that happen like that. But guess what? You shouldn't train these models. Like, I'm against training models anyway, but they're going to do it. You shouldn't be training it on live people, right? Uh, it, but look, it's in our history. I don't know if many Americans don't know, but when we tested the nuke, there was like a girl camp that they decided not to tell to get out of the range, who all of them died. They died within like a few weeks from radioactive poisoning. And they told them it wasn't because of the nukes, it was something else. And they gave all these excuses. right? And then we sold the American people that Hiroshima was 80% military. No, it wasn't. It had a base there, and it wasn't even their biggest base. Like, we do this constantly, and yes, AI is going to automate almost everything. And even Shiver, I really dug deep trying to figure out what these. Remember when they were reporting UFOs off the coast of America in New Jersey? Well, just a few months prior, Palantir had done a deal with a company called Red something. I forget the name now because it's been a while. Which were the first ones to be able to make drones that can stay in the air for 8 to 12 hours, and they were the size of cars and buses. And I truly believe that the fact that the president was saying they're not alien, but we don't know what they are. Don't worry about them. Well, if you don't know what they are, then you can't say they're not alien. Actually, by the definition, if you don't know what they are, they're alien. Um, so that was a Palantir test to me. That was them using automated drones to look around the city, to look for certain things and test them on our ground, that they didn't want American people to know that they have autonomous drones being tested on American soil. Um, and it's obvious because right after that test in January, Palantir bought that drone company, or entered into a contract with that drone company, and the U.S. military gave that new entity a contract for using their drones, which, by the way, was then transferred to Israel. Which, by the way, now Eric Trump owns 50% of, and they're going public on the public stock market. So you understand how intertangled everything is. So yeah, they're definitely going there, and that's probably actually the most scary, because if you believe Trump wants a third term, imagine Trump with uh, hundreds of thousands of drones that he can control by prompt. That is a scary future for any country where any president has that much power.
Yeah, I think all his truth posts would start becoming prompts. It would be actually scary.
What I will say though is, when you say they do it all the time, right? And they did it when they did the nukes as well, and then they just denied it and decided not to tell people. It shows that they don't have any care for civilian life, especially if it's foreign civilian life, right? They see everybody else, literally, these people that run America see the civilians in other nations, especially in Africa and the Far East and Asia, Middle East, as goyim. So if they do it all the time, I've always held the belief that they knew, based on whatever data, old data, new data, whatever, that Minab school was a school, girls and boys school. And even if that was current data, I don't think they would have had a conscience to not do it. I think they still would have done it for maximum impact, because they don't care. Joe, as you said, they do it all the time. They would do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at Iraq, it happened in Iraq too. We bombed the school, we bombed the wedding, um, we double tapped the wedding, uh, and there was nothing there. Like, there was no military target there. Um, I, I just don't know, with all the technology we have, with satellites, with everything else, that you don't know your target. I mean, even a thief is going to like case your house for a day or two, right, to get information. Like, there's no way they weren't watching the targets and saw that little girls were coming out of the school prior to making this assessment, right? Um, I don't know if, Andrew, you can answer that. I don't know if you have privy to like what they do for targeting packages. I know you know what it's like to get the order to use it, but I
Yeah.
don't know what happens before it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We were talking about that at length while this was going on weeks ago. The whole plan is you have what's called an order of battle, then you get a battle plan, and then when you get the actual package, let's say you get the actual orders, the command I'm talking at the command level. In this case, I'll just take a submarine, for example. We know the mission. We're on a mission. We have a box. It could be 1,000 square miles. It could be 500, could be 100 square miles. We get a box. And we have designated areas, like maybe that's Vulture 1, Vulture 2, and anything that goes into Vulture 1 could be, we have to identify it either friendly or foe. If it's foe, we have an ROE rule of it's called a rule of engagement. We kill it. How are we going to kill it? Will it be a 1-2-2-2 blanche? Will it be quick fire? Will it be a scenario where we go through and do a target motion analysis? It's quite elaborate, and we train and train and train on that. Now, for those Tomahawk launches, again, we have submarines that do that. We have aircraft that do that, but mostly I think it was those surface ships that were doing those Tomahawk launches. Those packages are already predetermined. Someone was saying, "Oh, that commander in that ship, he knew they were watching. They were watching that missile kill those girls." No, no. That the command level, you don't see. You just have a target X, whatever Y, Z, whatever the target is. Okay. Now, if it's a military target, there's no question it's a military target. I'm not going to go into the elaborate analysis of what constitutes a military target, who the military target is. That's usually handled at a higher level, but we train in knowing it's basically the enemy. But now, specifically on that girl's school, to me, I think it's extremely clear that it was an Israel. I think to me personally, it's IDF involved. IDF is involved in those packages. The Pentagon's involved in it. Intel's involved in it, and then we have AI involvement. And those packages were clearly marked as quote military targets. And let's just leave it at that. The problem is before the actual package is delivered, they have to do an assessment. They have to do analysis. They have to know exactly, is it really a military target? And if it's confirmed, yes, then it is. But clearly, that target was not a military target. And Mangos came in here and said, "Oh no, it used to be. It's by a base." So what? We have civilian structures next to bases all over the United States. I mean,
We have schools. We have
schools.
schools inside bases.
Schools inside of bases.
Amer- in
I've
in
been on
America.
many. Yeah, I've been on 3, 4, 5, 8, 20 bases in my life, and there's schools on there. Yeah, my kid attended a school on a military installation. But yes, exactly. So here's the bottom line. We clearly, I say we, the person who made that target package clearly knew that that was a school. Now, I'll stand there all day long. They knew it was a school. They knew it was a school. Did the commander that sent that missile know? I seriously, no, of course they didn't know it was a school. If they did, let's say they did know that, then they need to be taken out and hung by the neck until dead, because that's a crime. But I really believe they just saw military target, military naval installation, da 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 da. That's it. But they did not know that was a school. But the person that drew up that package, they knew. Oh, they definitely know. They have to know. I mean, how can one argue that they didn't know that was a school? Because they have to have visual of that. They have to have visual confirmation. And even when we saw, that's when the WikiLeaks came out. We saw the WikiLeaks. I don't know if anyone ever watched that video. It was horrific. Those pilots saw those guys running around. They were unarmed. And they said, yeah, take them out. Cobra 1 hit. And they're bam, bam, bam with 40 millimeters. They kept gunning those guys down. They saw exactly what it was. They had permission to fire. So they knew it was a school. Whoever drew that package up, but the actual commander that launched that, no, they didn't watch that school. They didn't know it was a school. I'm convinced of that. They wouldn't know. I'm not trying to protect myself or others, but we never would see the actual. This is exactly the name nomenclature. We just know it's target 1, target 2, and it's identified as foe. Does that make sense? That it's the higher ups definitely
Yeah,
knew that was school.
I was more like the packet before the package is made to
Yeah.
send.
Yeah.
They have to have visual confirmation. So if
Yes.
they don't,
Then
then they're using AI,
there
right?
exactly, and or old data. There may have been
Hmm.
a visual before, but it has to be confirmation. You can't just say, "Well, I think that's what it is." It has to be confirmed.
Because we have the technology with the surveillance planes that they can't reach because they fly at 50,000 feet. It's hard to reach them. Um, they would have visual confirmation, I'm sure, before.
Yep.
unless they're just trusting AI to do the packages,
Yeah, no,
which is a
I
scary
can't.
thought.
Yeah, I just can't believe they would fully trust. Yeah, no, and again, we weren't there, don't know, but from my experience, no, the target has to be clearly. Well, let me give you an example. In submarine ops, we have to know who's friend, who's foe, enemy, friend or foe, FO, right? Friend or foe, but we identify that clearly by 5 different ways by frequency. We know whether that's for example, the Russian submarines. We know that's either an Alpha, a Victor 3, it's a Kula, it's an Oscar. We know exactly what it is, who he is. And we know exactly what the rules of engagements are. Do we have free fire effect? Can we just shoot him? Or does he have to cycle? During the Cold War, we were operating in areas I'm not going to talk about, but if the Soviets ever cycled a missile hatch, it was very clear we could shoot him. I mean, 4. We'd have 4 going right at him. No questions asked. One missile hatch cycles. In other words, if he opens a missile hatch that means the opening to open the door so he can launch an ICBM. We got 4 coming at him. There's no questions asked. We shoot and we go to our egress route. So we know the target. So now if these civilian targets like that girls' school, the target has to be identified thoroughly. Now, I don't think I need to get a whiteboard out and draw pictures of what thoroughly identified means, but thoroughly identified means thoroughly identified. So the bastards, the evil, wicked devils that planned that had to know clearly that was a school. Clearly. So now we have to ask ourselves, Hegseth, what are you doing, you war criminal? Trump, what are you doing, you war criminal? Everyone, any general admiral that took those orders, they're criminals. They're no different than Netanyahu. Honestly, they're not. I would love to watch this country have an inquiry, a board of inquiry, and sit down everybody and find out why that girl's skulls were not only why were they hit? Why did they kill those innocent civilians? Why? They knew they were civilians. They knew they were innocent. And the double tap. Why? Because we're war criminals. We need to be taken out and tried by a court of law. We do. We, the United States of America, our military has to stand trial for that. I think we have to answer for that. And I think someday, some way, whether in this world or the next, all of it's going to be brought to justice. It's wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that, Andrew. So, Joe, what were you going to say something?
No, I was just you were going off mic. I wasn't sure if you knew.
No,
Sorry.
I was. I'm just waiting for Larry to come as well, but I'm not sure if he's coming. You see, so it's one of those 50-50 things. But
Suleiman,
yeah,
didn't Larry talked about that, and others have weighed in on that, and I think we're all come to a consensus. Even I heard Anthony Aguilar say, "No, there's questions need to be answered here. It was an error, mistake, but someone had to know that was a girls' school. That someone way up had to know."
there was Professor Morandi said that he believed on basically the what you call it again, that they believe that that girls' school was intentionally struck, and the reason for it is because that they believe that it was to punish the IRGC because some of the children were basically family members of IRGC members, so as a way of causing them pain and suffering. But what's your thoughts on that, Joa?
Sorry, repeat that. I was watching a video about these people protesting. They're like revolting against joining the IDF inside Israel.
I saw that video. And that's been happening a lot, like literally through the genocide. There's been people, some Israelis have been trying to break the siege on Gaza. They've been fighting other Israelis who were trying to stop the aid going in. There's some really there's some really brave young people. A couple of them were even sent to prison, Israelis, for standing up for the genocide. And I think that we need to kind of highlight it more because
I'm
they're
back
trying to
at home
start a
base,
movement and change
but I'm wearing
hearts
my
and minds in
Panama.
Israel.
Wearing my Panama Jack
And
hat.
maybe in time, that movement will grow.
And the
Um,
suicides too are increasing.
Okay, let me
Like
just
that
quickly check this
young
out.
man that
I
came
was like,
back, the
I'm sure we've
American.
got this
Can you
confirmed, but
believe
I was
that
like, what
idiot
if it
went
isn't?
over
So
there to
let me not
fight, comes back and
advertise
kills
it. I'll
himself?
yeah, I
advertise
spoke
it, but
about
just
that
in a
earlier.
different
Did you
bit.
hear me, Andrew, when I spoke
Yes,
about it?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So sad. Like literally, that his parents, I hope that they realize that they didn't have to lose their
So,
son, but he was
so
traumatized.
guys, on the
Committing a
second
genocide at such a
YouTube
young age
channel,
is going to
if you can
traumatize
do
you.
me
Like,
a
in what
favor
world
and
did you think
come
it was okay
across to
to let
the
your son go?
other
I think they should be in prison
YouTube
for
channel,
allowing
that
him to
would
go
be
if they allowed
amazing.
him
I've
to go. It's
not put it
disgraceful.
in the
Yeah,
chat,
exactly.
but
So,
if
guys,
someone
But
can
on
do that for
the
me, that would be
second
awesome.
YouTube channel,
So in the
if you can
second
do me a
YouTube channel,
favor
guys, you
and
can come
come
across to the.
across to the
Let's see if I can
other
do it fast.
YouTube channel, that would be amazing. I've not put it
If
in
one of the
the
mods can do it, that'd be
thing,
awesome.
but if someone can do that for me, that would
That was
be
a bit of a last minute
awesome.
thing by me there, sorry
So the
guys.
second YouTube channel,
And then
guys,
we'll
you can
start
come
in
across
literally
to
30
the.
seconds. Let me see if I can do it fast.
There we go. That link's there. So
If
if one
everyone
of the
come
mods
across
can
to
do
that,
it, I'm
that'd be
gonna end
awesome.
this. Everyone come across.
That was a bit of a